Freaking out, man. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men in power want? More power.
My name is Luca. I was an Italian by birth, and I became an American by choice. Our lives and freedoms are in danger. This is not a drill. If you're listening to this broadcasting, you are the resistance.
All systems go.
Welcome to Love, Guns, and Freedom.
We're not afraid. You work for us. We're not your slaves.
Here we go, guys. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on KTOX 1340 AM and on United States.FM network. The purpose of the show, it is first of all to admit that we have a problem, okay? And I always said, we ignorance, we're not going to be free. That's the most, probably most powerful tool. We must find education. And of course, education follow up by action. I remember Thomas Jefferson when I was studying in my journey to become an American. I used to try to read everything I could. And one of the quotes from the founders that really caught my attention was from Thomas Jefferson. And he said, I'm trying to see if I remember right, if a nation expects to be ignorant and free, it expects something that will never be. So the problem is that we've been kept ignorant, or maybe we chose the path, the easy path to stay ignorant, and that's why our evil flourish. And the bottom line is, if we know that we don't know our rights, how can we even defend our rights? So that's why the purpose of the show is try to fight back in every way we can, and we start with education. And that's why I want to bring you today with me somebody that I really believe can give us a lot of great tools. And I like his attitude, I like his spirit, I like also his information in his book. He's a book author, he's an activist in freedom, and he's a person that he doesn't just talk the talk, but also walk it. And sometimes he pays the consequences by really faithful to his principles, and I really admire for him. Is Mr. Michael Badnarik. Michael, are you there?
I'm here, Luca.
Thank you for coming on, and we had you on the show a few times since my beginning of this, my little journey as I try to put this stuff together. You know, I'm not exactly a professional radio host, but I think slowly I'm getting better. But the bottom line is I'm trying to spread information here. That's it, and that's why I want you here. First of all, tell me, you're doing better. I heard you had some problem with your health, but you're back to Texas, right?
I'm getting healthier. I was in the hospital about 2 months ago, but I'm getting healthier, and I'm planning to move to Texas very soon.
Okay.
I'm going to Texas I'm going to spend New Year's Eve in Texas, and then I'll teach my Constitution class in Austin, Texas, and then I'll be traveling around the United States teaching my class to anybody who's going to listen.
Perfect. You know, and that's the way also I found about you. I remember I was going through a YouTube video somebody sent me, I guess. It was one about one of your Constitution classes. And I really want to, first of all, before we go ahead, we try to give more details exactly what you do when you do these seminars or classes. Briefly, you are the best person to introduce yourself. If I can give you 1 minute, just let people know a little bit about your background, okay? Because you've done a lot of interesting things in life, but let's go particularly when it comes down to the political activism, coming down to the common cause of freedom.
Well, I started out as a computer programmer and a trainer, and then some friends of mine said, we want you to run for president. And I said, president of what? And they said, president of the United States. So I ended up as a nominee for the Libertarian Party for president of the United States in 2004. I ran for Congress in the Libertarian Party in 2006. And then I had a radio program on the Internet for about 2 years. And I've been, the last 4.5 years, I've been in Northwest Indiana working as caregiver for my mother and father. And my mother passed away in April. My father now lives in Michigan with my brother. And so it's time for me to return to Texas and pick up where I left off, trying to light the fires of liberty one heart at a time.
Perfect. And also, I'm so happy that I had a chance to find your books. You're also a book author. Give, please, away the names of your books, please.
The first book is Good to be King. It talks about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. It tells people a lot of things that they don't know, but they should know about our country. And the second book is called Secret to Sovereignty. Everybody wants, almost everybody wants to be free. And they call me and they say, well, Michael, how do I, drive without a driver's license? How do I, carry a gun without a permit? And, the answers are in that book.
Yeah, listen, by the way, I'm not laughing because I tell you, when you say things like that, supposed to be, they are serious matters, okay? But the way you say it, and the way also, sometimes I can see the person out of the blue driving right now. I say, what is he talking about? He wants to drive the car without a driver license. Oh my God, he doesn't want to, he wants to have a gun without a permit. Guys, for me, I tell you, I don't want to ruin the surprise because I think that we got the person here can say better than me with my accent and my grammar limitation. Tell us, please, the difference between permit and right, between privilege and right, because that's exactly being brainwashed so long to think now that the government is the one giving us the permits, so we have the permit to do anything. This is not freedom. I mean, this country wasn't founded on a permit, for God's sake. So give us a little bit of the story, because, then, of course, we get trained and brainwashed the last 100 years at least. And people, when you start to tell them, by the way, you need a permit, you don't need a permit to have a gun because it's called your God-given right, also enumerated in the Bill of Rights as the Second Amendment. They may look at you like you're crazy. Give them a little bit of short story, the foundation and the principles of a permit, rights, and privilege and all this stuff.
Well, the most important thing for Americans to learn is the difference between rights and privileges. A right is something that you can do without asking. Privilege is something the government allows you to do. They give you a concealed carry permit. They give you a driver's license. Mm-hmm. They are officially letting you know that you have permission. Well, I'm willing to bet nobody in your listening audience, nobody has a church permit. And that's because freedom of religion is a right. You don't have to ask. And even if I were to say, Luca, don't think about God, there's no way I can enforce that rule. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can think about whatever you want. In my class, I tell my students, you're not allowed to think about a black cat. If I catch you thinking about a black cat, I'll ask you to leave. And everybody laughs because it's impossible to enforce that law. So a right is something that you can do without asking. Again, the government gives you privileges when they give you a permit or a license. So if you don't have a church permit because freedom of religion is a right, then why do you think I need a concealed carry permit? How is the Second Amendment different than the First Amendment? Mm-hmm. And the answer is it's not. There's no difference.
But we've been trained slowly. They've been sticking their foot between the door, and now they're smashing the door with all the shoulders. I mean, and then we got somehow used to the idea that the government now is there and can give us permits, like the license to marry. I mean, why should I ask to the government, the piece of paper that tell me now I can get married with that person? Okay, I mean, we forgot maybe that's exactly how all started. That it was for the black people to keep them separated from the white people, and that was part of the segregation. It was part of the fraud, and then we're all slaves. After that, we all get the license to get married, but not if you don't want to. And that's why I like so much your book, the final book, Secret to Sovereignty, because in a very, very audacious way, you, after all, remind us that, after all, it's millions of us. And we have more power than will make us believe. They want to put us in fear and think that we are just little people out there that we cannot change this status quo. Instead, we can. All we have to do is stand up and start to say, I want it now. And I tell you, I was very inspired by that, but I would like to put a disclaimer out. All the things we are saying here, even we can justify that there is the Constitution as the supreme law of the land on our side, and our inalienable rights on our side. At the same time, you're going to think for yourself before you try to actuate on any of the things we're talking here. Because going back to something I learned relatively recently, okay, a few years ago, and I don't want to be an hypocrite. I have a driver license, okay? That's the bottom line. But I know that U.S. Supreme Court, there are different cases that pretty much says, and I'll tell you also the sources, no license necessary to drive automobile on public highways and streets. So, at the same time, I'm aware that if I go around in Mojave County without driver license, my life is going to be a hell. And probably the sheriff deputy out there, he has no clue what I'm talking about. And if I talk too many times, he's probably going to slap the handcuff on me just because it's sometimes we need to pick and choose as our Bible. But the point is we need to start to educate ourselves. So maybe we can educate also our public representative, starting from our sheriff people. That's the point. So I was going to say that whatever you're listening now, do your researches. And even sometimes we have, as I said, the Constitution on our side. Doesn't mean that we're living under the Constitution anymore. So let's be careful what you do. You do at your own risk, okay? Now, please, Michael, I want to go back to you. I would like to think for a moment, close your eyes, think that we are like here and now in front of you, there are like 100 people, 1,000 people, and we want to have a taste of your Constitution class. By the way, I would like to invite everybody to go to your website, that you have incredible, beautiful YouTubes there, videos, that I downloaded, and people can watch what you do during your classes. Can you give, first of all, your website?
My website is constitutionpreservation.org.
Perfect. constitutionpreservation.org. I will post a link on today's show on lovegunsfreedom.com to your site so people can go there, and also they can contact you for the class. But now I would like to give this sample. Let's say you're here, and of course, we're talking about just a few minutes, but let's say people want to have an idea, what is your class about? How many hours, how many days, or how much? Give all the information you want to give. I give you 5 minutes, I shut up.
Okay. I teach an 8-hour class, and we've got over 240 years of American history. I've done 30 years of research on my own, and I try to compress all of that into a single day. And it's difficult. It's a very full day. Most people are stunned and surprised when we get to the end of the day. They can't believe that the day is already over. It goes by really quickly. We typically run from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. We take about half an hour for lunch, various coffee breaks. The cost of the class is normally $150, but it's kind of a special deal. Until the end of March, my class is only $100. I'm giving you a 33% discount on that, trying to, prime the pump, motivate people to come out and learn some of the things that I know. And we talk about philosophy at the very beginning of the class. I mean, why do we have government at all? I mean, why not anarchy? Everybody's upset with the government. Let's just have anarchy. We'll have no government. And, people panic. Oh my gosh, we can't live without government. It's like, well, all right, if we have to have government, then what kind of government? Socialist government? Communist government? What type of government do you think we ought to have? And as we analyze the fundamental principles, the things that are true, whether there was government here or not. You're alive. Most of us want to stay alive, and we want to make that life as long as possible, even though we know none of us is immortal. None of us is going to last forever. So, what do you want to do while you're still alive? Well, you want to protect your life You want to protect your family. You want to protect your property. You want to keep things as they are without having somebody bigger and stronger, come and take all that away from you. And so you say, well, okay, I'm protecting myself, but, maybe Luca, you and I can get together and we can, form a contract. I can help protect you. You can help protect me. And as we, get more and more people to join us, we invent government.
Mm-hmm.
The only legitimate purpose of government is to protect your life, your liberty, and your private property. That's the purpose of a legitimate government. Now, do all governments do that? No. I mean, socialist and communist governments don't believe in private property. They believe that they're in charge of everything. They're going to loan you a house. They're going to loan you a car. And your job is to work to keep the government operational.
Exactly.
And, that was the way things were underneath the king, under the emperor. You have to give 1/3 of your productive output for the benefit of the king. Well, when we came to North America, we came up with what we thought was a better system. Instead of us working for the government is supposed to work for us.
Yeah,
At least that's the way things started out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, during the first couple hours of the class, I discuss all of these things that people already know are true. They've forgotten them, because we've had all of that trained out of us. Oh, we got to get a permit. I got to go ask the government for permission. That has become a habit. But when you stop and think about it, you realize that's not the way things were supposed to be.
No, let me tell you something. Sometimes we all went through these stages, at least speaking for myself, to almost get used to the idea. And then something out of the blue, pop, like the light. And I remember a few years ago, about probably 11 or 12 years ago, I really started to have this sort of revelation. I said, oh my God, I really don't see much difference from the time of the kings and lords from what we live in now. It is a little more sophisticated. Because think about it, and I always say to my listeners, you think really things have changed? You were talking about under the king, you must give 1/3 of your work or whatever you go, when you go hunt or you go to the field, give it to the king. Now we go much more than that. We are forced to give sometimes even 60, 70%, depends which part of the world you live, also in America too, to the new king. In this case, is the state. And then, of course, every time you want to do something, you guys have to ask permit to the king. If you want to build a house, you have to ask permit for a king. After all, what's supposed to be our land or our home? It is not our home, because you know very well if you don't pay your property taxes, your extortion money at the end of the year, your home, the illusion that you have a home is gone. And if you don't ask for the permit to put a little chicken coop out there, you're going to get fined. And if you don't get the fine, you're going to get arrested. So I really realize that we've been transitioning from lords and kings. We had a moment of hope and real freedom, even with all the limitations. After all, our founding fathers were human, so they tried to do the best they could. But we had a good foundation, and then we let it go, and now we are back to the place where we started almost. But the difference is we have the right, because also not only is our God-given right, but also believe because somebody before us died and bled and gave everything they had to create this constitution and create this new republic. We have this right to take it back. So we're not like in Europe, that people never had it. They never had to fight the revolution. They've always been slaves. Here we had this right, and we need to take it back. And that's why we are here with you. And I hope we don't need to do it with force, but we can do it with education through the process. That's why. Let me shut up again. Go ahead, please.
Benjamin Franklin identified a difference between revolution and rebellion.
Yes.
And according to Benjamin Franklin, a revolution is a change in the way that people think. So between 1760 and 1775, people changed what they were thinking about the king. In 1750, it's Hail to the King. King George is wonderful. And then by the end of, 1775, we're not that happy with the king anymore. We changed the way that we were thinking. Mm-hmm. Now, Franklin said that if you have the revolution, the change in the way people think, if you do that early enough, then you can avoid the rebellion, the bloody, fighting.
Yes.
But, you got to do that change in the way that people think. If we wait too long, then the only way to fix the problem is going to be with force and bloodshed. And I'm running around the country teaching my class, trying desperately to avoid, rebellion.
Yeah. We almost at this point. I mean, you realize very well, better than me, you've been living here since you were born. I just came here. This country, we've seen this change going on the last at least 100 years, for my opinion, since the creation of the private Federal Reserve. We've been destroying, and more, even before that. But for sure, the last 20 years, and let's not even talk about the last 8 years, we are living through things that now, probably just 10 years ago, you could never imagine. Now the government can force us to buy a service or a product without our will, and then if we cannot afford it, we're also going to get fined. I mean, think about the Obamacare stuff. And we are really slaves. I mean, people may laugh at me sometimes when I go around talking about the seat belt. Maybe it's a minor thing for many of the listeners. I don't know. All I know, that for me is one of the most powerful things, because government was able to force us to say, the government owns your body. Because the moment that they can force you to put a seat belt against your will means that there is no reason but you're a slave. And now after that, they can also say you got to buy a product against your will, like the insurance. So we're coming to this point. I don't know, really. I hope enough Americans out there, they're going to be free of this matrix, try to learn. And because we are all, I'm not saying all, but there is this lot of planning through the school system and through the media and through the television to keep these masses under control. So I really hope and pray that your job and many others out there try to do the best to wake them up. What do you think about, now we are living in New America, as you know, under the new National Defense Authorization Act of 2012 with the indefinite detention. People like you, like me, we can declare suspected domestic terrorist, and we can disappear. No process, and we're gone forever. What really can we do to start to say, we got to have a plan here? What is your opinion on this?
Well, I agree that the government can whisk you away and make you disappear. Most of us are happy to believe that, well, it can't happen to me. That only happens to terrorists. Mm-hmm. Well, if the government labels you a terrorist, you really have no choice.
Yep.
And, they've decided that because you're a terrorist, you don't get a lawyer, you don't get a phone call, and you can literally disappear, and your friends would never know where you went.
Exactly.
And that's a really scary thing. We don't worry about it because we think it's going to happen to somebody else.
Yeah.
But if we don't fix it now, when it happens to you, then there's nobody else out there that's going to come fix it for you.
Exactly. Now, this is so important. Before I was talking about, because everything I bring to the show, I like to back it up. I don't like just to bring words and then run, okay? The Supreme Court case and also the different other citations were pretty much show High Court that it's the driver license, it's a scam, okay? And don't get me wrong, I say that I have a driver license, so don't start, if you are a police or sheriff in Maui County, don't get too excited that you're going to stop me without a driver license. I play the game. But the point is, I give you an example. Thompson against Meade, 154 SC 579, American Jurisprudence, Constitutional Law, Section 329, page 1135. The right of the citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport his property thereon in the ordinary course of life and business is a common right, which has under the right to enjoy life and liberty, to acquire and possess property, and to pursue happiness and safety. It includes the right in so doing to use the ordinary and usual conveyances of the day and under the existing modes of travel. Includes the right to drive a horse, drawn a carriage or wagon, therefore, and operate an automobile thereon for the usual and ordinary purpose of life and business. It doesn't, that's the bottom line. There are so many cases out there, and you can find Thompson against Smith. And there, I will put a link, because I'm not really that good at read, especially legalese with my accent, but I'll put the links with the sources. And then after all, you realize that the law that we are living today, we are under law, the rule of law. It's called the law who has the bigger gun. Because you can bring this law the way you want in front of the police. They're going to laugh at you. If they don't laugh, they're not that funny. They're going to probably tase you and arrest you. And probably you're going to go in front of a judge. Since this is a misdemeanor after all, you're not going to even have the jury trial. They're going to put you in jail anyway. That's the bottom line. That's why we are trapped. What do you think about this? I mean, we have all these cases that the Supreme Court said that the driving is not a privilege, and still we have to try to convince the world that it is not. I mean, what do you think about this, Michael?
Well, I think that, the people in government don't follow their own rules. We have all these laws on the books. As you say, you just read one of them. There are many, many others. Mm-hmm. But just because the law is written down doesn't mean that these people are planning to follow the law. Exactly. They don't follow their own rules. And, when the police officer pulls you over on the side of the road, most of the time they're polite. Yeah, they go, well, ma'am, your registration is expired and, your tail light is burned out. And, they're polite. And because, you're afraid because they have a gun, we go along with the whole process, and as long as you don't fight and argue and struggle against the process, then, it's not that painful. Mm-hmm. And we go, well, it was my fault. The tail light really was broken, and maybe I was going a little bit too fast on the highway. And we come up with all these excuses to ignore the other information that we should know. And the information is you have a right to travel. And a right to travel is not the same thing as, being in commerce.
Exactly.
When you read all of these laws, you go to the traffic code. It's not law, it's code. And it only applies to people engaged in commerce.
Yes.
So what the government has done is they have tricked you into thinking that you're a businessman. And, if you and I go to lunch and, we travel in my automobile and I don't charge you money for taking you to lunch with me, then I am not a driver. You are not a passenger, and my automobile is not a vehicle. Those are all legal terms. Mm-hmm. If somebody buys a hammer from Ace Hardware and they go home and they kill somebody with the hammer, is it still a hammer?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Is it also a murder weapon? Well, yeah, it's a murder weapon based on the way that it was used. Well, how about the 999,000 other hammers that Ace Hardware sells? No, those are still hammers, but the other hammers are not considered murder weapons because they weren't used to commit murder.
Exactly.
So it's possible for 1 million automobiles to come off the assembly line. All of them are automobiles, without a doubt. But when you use your automobile to convey goods or passengers for hire, when you're using it for commerce, that's when your automobile is given a legal term called vehicle. So my hammer is not a murder weapon. My automobile is not a vehicle. and I'm not guilty of murder or commerce.
Exactly. I really invite everybody. Let's say, I want to ask you now more details exactly if you have already some dates or some locations for your tour, for your Constitution class. We're talking with Michael Badnarik. But I would like also invite everybody out there, if you want to really get all this information in a book that you can share with your family, and I'm so happy I was able to buy it a few years ago, you should go to his website, constitutionpreservation.org, and I will get both of his books. But if you want to start with one, Good to Be King for me was really a gold mine of information and thinking, and make you think, and make you realize that, my gosh, we are living in illusion, and how things have been changed. You know, we are not anymore in the land of the free, home of the brave. Unfortunately, now we are the land of the free, home of the slaves. And people can be mad at me. I'm sorry. You know, I want this back. I'm not trying to bash America down, but I tell you, I cannot live in the illusion. I cannot be just lying to myself and wave a Chinese-made U.S. flag and think I'm free when I'm living under the National Defense Authorization Act. I'm living under the Patriot Act and all these codes and regulations that they are completely unconstitutional. So we got to fight back, and the first way you do it, you expose and you admit the reality. The reality that this now is not more America. We must take it back. And we start from here. Even a book like Good to Be King, I really believe can be a very important cornerstone, at least for me was very important in my process of maturity, try to learn in this journey, to start to activate ourselves. And then you can share this book with your, public servant, with your elected representative, because it, after all, is one of us. And we need to start to take it back through the process. Michael, any dates or any place you can tell us right now where people maybe listening to the show, even this is right now probably mostly in, we have Mojave County and Bullhead and, of course, this part of Arizona and Laughlin, Nevada, and Needles, California. But even through the Internet, they may listen to this broadcast, and anywhere you can tell us some of the places where you're going to be doing your class.
All of my classes are listed on my website. If you go to constitutionpreservation.org, there's a calendar page.
Okay.
And I have 10 classes scheduled in the first 3 months of, 2016. The first one is January 9th in Austin, Texas. And then I fly to Oregon. I'll be teaching my class January 16th in Ashland, Oregon, which is the southwest corner. And then I'm really excited because the last week of January, I've been invited to teach my Constitution class on a cruise ship.
Wow.
I'll be going on the Ruby Princess from L.A. down to Mexico and back. And information is on my website. But it's an 8-hour class, so I'm going to teach an hour and a half every day for 6 days.
Excellent. That's
9
nice.
hours. So after 90 minutes of teaching, then I get to go sit in the jacuzzi with a pina colada.
That's great. At least you deserve it. You've been living so many years in that cold part of America and there in the north. It's time to get out a little bit to get some sun. And I see also you got classes in Hawaii. That's pretty exciting.
I'm very excited. In February 13th is in Richardson, Texas, just north of Dallas. And then potentially 3 classes in Hawaii. February 20th on the island of Oahu. February 27th on the island of Maui. And then a week later on March 5th in the city of Hilo, which is on the main island of Hawaii. And I have to admit, when I started talking to people, I don't know much history about Hawaii. The United States almost conquered Hawaii. We were using it to, for our naval base during World War II, before it became a state. But then March 12th in Grand Junction, Colorado, and March 19th in Aspen, Colorado, and then March 26th in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
So if you want me to come to your town, all you need to do is call me. My number is 512-489-8255. 888-461-0995. And, we can set up a class in your town. I need to have, 20 or 25 students to make it worth a plane ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And up until the end of March, it's $100. April, May, and June, it goes up to $125. And after June, it goes back to $150 per person.
Okay.
So the sooner you call me, the sooner we get your class on the calendar, the cheaper it can be.
I would like to I invite to all the listeners, at least the listeners that really would like to try to make a difference. I believe that first of all, just reading his book, it's worth it, but to have the opportunity to meet Michael in person. I never met Michael. I just talked to you over the phone, of course, and through your books and your readings and YouTubes. But I tell you, if we can make something like this in this part of Arizona, I would love to that. I'm going to be the first one to put my name down. Because after all, $100, you can spend them and waste them in a weekend like nothing, and nothing's left. But to have the opportunity, also find each other, find like-minded people, and to try to start to reorganize the DNA of this country, of this republic, the way it's supposed to be, the way it used to be. We start with these cell blocks, with this little DNA at local level. And then think about it. Everything is possible. What if we had, for example, a county supervisor as Michael Badnarik in our community, or a sheriff? People can, maybe we cannot change the big monster or whatever it's happening in Washington, D.C., but we could go bring America back in our communities, in our county, in our city. All these cities with that doing all these crazy things now, these new legislations and new county ordinances or city ordinances. So we can make it happen. But we need to have the information, we need to have our opening, and then we can spread it around. Even if it's just like 20 of us, we could do incredible good things just spreading this information. After we learn, after we document ourselves, we can try to, I don't want to change anybody's mind. I want just to give the opportunity for themselves to change their mind and to take it back to the basic principles of this republic. So, Michael, I really want to thank you. Now, let's see, maybe somebody wants to, I will post, by the way, on the page on lovegunsfreedom.com. On today's page is going to be exactly for the show of Sunday, the 20th of December. I will post the page, also the link, the phone number for Michael, and also an invitation to try to organize a class here in this part of Arizona. I hope so. I'll put my name down. Michael, I want to thank you, and I want to give you the last 30 seconds. You can say whatever you want. Go ahead.
I just want people to love liberty enough to continue studying. My class is an introduction to the Constitution, and after you're done, you're going to have to study a little bit on your own. But we're all in this together, brothers and sisters, and we need to defend each other.
Exactly. I want to remind to the listeners, this is not NPR. We do not extort your money through tax dollar. First of all, if you want to support the station, KTOX, I really invite you. But as you know, I'm an independent producer. If you want to support me to keep doing what I'm doing, and you know that I have no desire to be on the air. I'm just trying to do my part here, but it takes me a lot of energy and time. You can go to my website, at least one of my websites. You can go to www.zanna, Z-A-N-N-A, art.com. You see what I do for a living. I write songs, I do paintings, and many other things. And you can download any of my songs for just 99 cents, and even just with one song, you can support the show. Thank you very much, Michael. Don't go away, guys, because we have more information breaking and interesting news coming from Oregon. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Here we go, guys. This is the second part of the first hour. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. And I've been talking about a few weeks ago with Hammond Family what's happening in Oregon. There is a family I really believe is being singled out, is being targeted by the federal government, and their life is being destroyed and ruined. The Hammond family. Now, there is a call to action, and I'd like to know more what's going on for a friend of mine that also had here on the show a few weeks ago. His name is Michael Emery from Idaho. Michael, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Very good, Michael. Please give us the update. First of all, remind everybody you are one of the founders of a very interesting new internet independent media. Give the name of your website and of your place.
Okay, we are the Voice of Idaho. We're which is called TVOI News. We're accredited news agency in the state of Idaho. And we're just sitting here to serve the public, to be able to get some transparency in all aspects within our daily lives. And that's pretty much the mission and foundation of our news agency.
You are also a Navy veteran, correct?
Well, I was in the Navy on a torpedo weapons retriever, and then I was in the Army for a short stint as a combat medic, and then I got borrowed out of the Army into contractor duty.
Okay, so good. At least we know a little bit about your background, just to remind to our listeners. Now, tell us a little bit. You have direct information on what's going on in Oregon with the Hammond family, and there's been some sort of a call to action. Give us all the details you can tell us over the air. You got the floor. Okay.
Basically, I'll give you a really quick synopsis. The Hammonds are under duress. I think everybody knows the redress of grievance that's being asked to be exposed. Anyways, the Hammonds were threatened through their lawyer by an agency that the lawyer couldn't say who. I think it was the FBI, but we don't know. And it was a pretty harsh threat. They said, quit communicating with the Bundys and other individuals, or we will collar you up before the January 4th, and we don't want anyone to get hurt. And that was direct quote.
Yes, I remember I had Hammond Bundy a couple of weeks ago on the show. He was telling us about that. Exactly. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so after that happened, they decided to back off because they're terrified. So the citizens of Harmon County got together and did there was 160 people there, and they voted on doing what our founding fathers did, which is a safety committee. A safety committee is set up so that you can have the power of policing powers to enforce the law from the citizens' jury if there's a trial for criminal actions.
Wow.
Exciting. That's what this is. So they voted on it unanimously. It is enacted and in place as we speak. And that the citizens of Harmon County are taking the ground right now as far as giving the support necessary for this investigation. The officials that we are trying to give this redress to grievance to have not responded. They do not want to respond, nor do we expect them to respond. We encourage them to, but if they don't, then the citizens are going to have no other choice but to do a citizens' grand jury and do the investigation and look through all the evidence in proper light.
Wow.
Laws being held up. Wow. And whatever findings they have, the people have the right to place subpoenas, whatever.
Let me 1 second remind everybody. It's going to be very interesting because now we are facing two different worlds colliding against each other. We have the federal government with the federal court that, in my opinion, after what I read and what I've been learning about, this has been the biggest fraud, okay? The biggest crime against this family. So they charge this family, those two members of this family, as terrorists just because they were doing some sort of a cleaning up on the land that they lease for their cows with fire. Nobody got harmed, nobody got hurt, but they're going to get spending 5 years in jail for illegal burning, and they put it under the Terrorist Act. And, of course, we know very well that BLM burn all day long with impunity, even when we complain. And at the same time, we know that there is a history behind that the federal government wants to take their land. They're trying to buy out their land. So there is all this sort of a big sort of a corruption story there. But now they're going to spend 5 years in jail. That I don't even think if you are a sex offender, if you rape somebody, you don't spend 5 years in jail, okay? If you do a robbery, probably you get out earlier. So anyway, after this kangaroo trial, they're going to face trial. But at the same time, we have the people coming down with their trial, correct? I mean, with their investigation. Am I right or not?
What this is a revisit to what our founding fathers had to go through. It's almost just a more modern day version of what our founding fathers had to do.
Yes, I agree.
This has already been enacted, and there's no way to go back.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know how the court will rule, the People's Court will rule in this, but with all evidence in hand, it looks to me like one of the charges may be terrorism.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because the definition of terrorism is exactly what they've done is terrorize these people.
Yeah, we need to charge the federal government with terrorism. That's the point.
That's exactly right. So I don't want to make a court case here because I don't know what the jury's finding will be. But we do have a redress of grievance with just some of the crimes that have been committed.
Yeah.
So, folks, you're seeing War of Athens. Have you ever heard of War of Athens?
Yeah, talking about Athens, Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You're seeing revisit. The last time this happened was the War of Athens, and the trigger's already been pulled. And those people, there'll be more information that'll come out. But what I want people to do is rest assured that we have it under control here. Mm-hmm. But we would like some volunteers of selective talent for security, if somebody would want to volunteer. Mm-hmm. Okay, but we don't need a massive call out. We've got the whole Patriots Network, Pacific Patriots Network, on alert as we speak.
All right.
And we're just watching it and letting the people in that county handle it because we don't want to have a big mixed up thing. We want to make sure that this is proper, that there's no misunderstandings, and that everybody feels comfortable that proper actions are being applied within our boundaries of what our legal system states. And our legal system, by the Constitution, gives us full authority to address the citizens with a safety committee to protect the jurors in this investigation.
Yeah, this is very exciting because this is a system that we need to propagate and duplicate in every county, in every part of the states of this union, because unfortunately there are a lot of other cases like the Hammond that unfortunately, they didn't get media attention yet. So we need to start to understand this concept. After all, we the people, we are the final authority to also face and confront a tyrannical and corrupted government. Because they can come after any one of us. If we don't start to organize now, it's going to be too late when it's going to happen to us.
This is the greatest chance we have with an example that can be. This is a case of precedence. And folks, we need to exhaust all resources to make sure that this is fair, that the federal government plays fair and honors the court rulings. Yeah. Okay? Because this can be applied throughout the United States. And, there is criminality in every single county across this land almost. Okay? And so we need to be able to have an accountability to the people that police, to our government officials in a proper light, not in a demonistic light.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, there's a lot of officers out there that love this idea, and I can't divulge who is members of the safety committee right now, but they're of high stature within their community and their county.
I would like to remind everybody to inform yourself about these magic keywords, because the history that you will study at the public re-education camps called public schools, they never teach you that, okay? The Battle of Athens, 1946, August the 1st and the 2nd, is something that should be studied in every American history books. It's like the same, for me, it's comparable to the first days of the American Revolution. This is the second time really we use the Second Amendment to confront and to defend ourselves against a tyrannical government, even if it was just a local level. So please find these people, the Battles of Athens, 1946. They're never going to let you know this stuff at school, but you got to find out. Now, let's remind one more time the magic keywords, because I want to start to people understand what we are talking here. This is not sedition. This is not like to be against the government. This is about restoring the form of government that we're supposed to have, a constitutional republic, where the constitution is the supreme law of the land, not some international treaty or some Agenda 21 socialist, communist, global government tyranny. Okay? So, we're talking about the jury of the people, and more important, the safety committee. Now, let's remind one more time, the grand jury of the people, exactly where we find this part, because this is something very important. It's not the first time I heard this situation.
Well, there's people that are higher professors than I, but the citizens' grand jury basically is a review board by the citizens. You see, most people don't understand what a jury is. It's judging a jury by your peers. And a jury is the strength of the court that they don't let us know. That's what's supposed to keep a check and balance from tyrannical governments from becoming rogue. But what happened is the Bar Association, since the end of the Civil War, folks, this goes all the way back to the Civil War, where they contaminated our judicial system. And it is contaminated, and here's the main reason why we know it is. Because of Benghazi and the monstrosity of evidence that have come out, and now about Stinger missiles that are in the hands of ISIS, to only find out now through Putin and Russia that our own government at the high level has funded, aided, abetted, and created ISIS.
Exactly. I mean, this is so...
We have treasonous activities aiding the enemy, and nobody's going to jail. So, folks, Eric Holder should be under indictment right now. Hillary Clinton should be investigated and under indictment right now. And if they're not, that says that our judicial system is rogue and that it has no accountability, but only to itself.
Exactly. I mean, listen, guys. Every one of you, I don't care now which party, look at the story. There is a point that laws, they are no more laws, but they're just arbitrarily enforced, depends who you are. If you were doing a tenth of the things that, for example, Hillary Clinton did, or Bush did, okay, doesn't matter. We will be gone to jail for a lifetime. Instead, these people, they have some sort of a special magic immunity from our own laws. So this is wrong. We already lost the judicial system. Now it's just against us. And that's what happens, for example, to this family, the Hammond. I mean, they're spending 5 years in a federal jail. I mean, it's going to be prison. I mean, this is serious stuff.
By the way, because they already spent time in jail and they can't charge them again for the same crime, but they did, folks.
Yeah, that's part we talk with Hammond Bandit too. This is amazing. This is like coming back to the time of the kings. And
not on our watch right now, and I can tell you we want everybody to play fair. We want to have responsibility. We've got it handled here. We could use some talented resources potentially, and maybe they can contact me and I can give a liaison or something like that.
Give your website, please, so people can contact you if they have any questions or any information they want to go further about the situation.
Okay, my website is TVOI News, the Voice of Idaho, that's .com. And my email address is my email address is tvoimgun@gmail.com.
Okay, perfect. And I'll also put a link of your website directly on lovegunsfreedom.com on today's show. Listen, Michael, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for keeping us updated. And I want to say, everybody out there, don't think just because this is happening in Oregon, it's not going to touch you. By the way,
I'd like to add this. If you want to really get a good update on the ground, check out TVOI News and go to our Facebook and check it out. We'll be pretty much get a good ground resource. Sorry.
Very good. And before you go, I want to say thank you again. And more important, I want to say thank to everybody out there who understands that this is not just some sort of a show for entertainment, but this is like really a lifetime opportunity to start to retake this country back. And I'm telling you guys, if you listen to the show, you think you're laughing at us, that's fine. You can laugh, I don't care. But if you listen to the show, you want to do something, I appreciate you for two things. First of all, to take in notice of what's going on and try to be proactive, because I would like to ask for your help to propagate this information, because we need to learn from what other people are doing in our country, and maybe we can, I'm sure we're going to need, unfortunately, also in our own part of the states. So let's try to propagate this information. I appreciate for your help to sharing it, and also I appreciate your help to support this show. Seriously, I say many times, this is not NPR. We not extort the money out of your pocket like many, the public broadcasting station through the taxes. If you want to support, first of all, the station, KTOX at 1340 AM, I appreciate it, but I'm not even part of the station. I'm an independent producer. So if you want to support this program, please go to lovegunsfreedom.com and you can find many ways. One of that, you can download any of my songs for just 99 cents. Or, for example, you can get any type of our little sponsor that I have, starting from my own little products. So check it out, please. ConfederateGifts.us or Zana.us. Whatever you can do, seriously, this is not a game. This is not a test. This is real. Michael, thank you very much, and say hi to your lady, okay?
I will do that.
Now, I have a song I'm going to share with you. It's one of my songs. It's called The Line in the Sand. And I tell you, when I wrote these songs a few years ago, I had no idea that it's going to be so close the time we're going to face this line in the sand. This is already a line in the sand. We have fellow Americans that are going to spend a raw time in jail. And guess what? For something that there was no when there is no victim, in my opinion, there is no crime. Okay? And the point is, these 5 years in jail now, this is going to ruin their life. Think about their lives, their sons, their grandsons, their wives, their business, their homes, gone. Gone. That could happen to you tomorrow. Now today you have a choice. Of course, you can just go back to regular life, just ignore all this and say, whatever, I'm fine. After all, I don't need that. I am not part of that. Guess what? Tomorrow you have a son or a daughter may face in the same situation. You want it or not. This tyranny is going to touch us, all of us. So I can say I'm just a little songwriter. I wrote this little song. It's called The Line in the Sand. And I hope we can somehow stop this tyranny before it crosses the line. Because when the line is being crossed, there are only two options. You can submit and be a slave and fake it that you're still free, but you know that in the deep of your heart you're a complete slave, or fight back. I'm not for violence. I'm not for creating any type of drama that we don't need. But at the same time, I'm not a slave. So I will do everything I can to stop, even just through the little humble radio show, to try to wake up every one of us to try to avoid this. But if we have to one day, we need to be ready, because the moment is coming. The Line in the Sand, musical lyrics by Luca Zanna. See you ready for the next second hour. Don't go away.
If you love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude than the animated contest of freedom, go from us in peace. We ask not your counsels or arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains sit lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you were our countrymen. The line in the sand, you know the time is coming. The line in the sand, are you going to watch while we're fighting? The line in the sand, just tell me now where you're going to stand. How much more you're gonna take it? How much more you're gonna fake it? Now you decide what you'll do when they come. They'll come for you.
You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States.FM network. Here we go, guys. You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom with Luca Zanna, second hour. It's all about guns and rights, and of course training. Before we start into the training part, it's going to be the final part of the hour, at least some training ideas. I would like to bring something that is very important. We talk about the Second Amendment this hour. We're talking about gun rights. Sometimes we forget that we've been almost, I don't want to say almost, we've been brainwashed. We've been almost trained like little puppies, slowly, to accept new reality. The reality that just because the government says something, let's say, for example, right now, the right of the people to keep bear arms shall not be infringed. Why not maybe we can infringe a little bit if we remove that type of length out of your rifle? Let's say you are short 1 inch less than what we say, you become a felon. There is a very important part of legislation, was the 1934 National Firearm Act, that unfortunately it is not a joke. It is real. Many people spent hard time in federal prison, and people can say whatever they want. We can say it's the law, that's fine, but what is the supreme law of the land? What if our judicial system is corrupt? What is the Supreme Court? After all, they're just a bunch of human beings can be corrupted. I think we passed the stage. Now, today I have with me a friend, a brother in arms, and also a brother in freedom, Wesley. We met at the Bundys not that long ago, and at that point, the situation evolves. Things are continuing, and I heard the news, this is now pretty much everywhere on the internet, that there is one of the other guys, one of these brothers who stood at the Bundys in this peaceful protest to expose this federal government abuse, unfortunately now is spending our time, at least he's been arrested, and he's been detained with no bail for some charges. I don't know much about this, but I would like to know more. And the person that's going to help me out is Eric Parker from Idaho, the 3%. Eric, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Nice to meet you again, Eric. And just briefly, remind us a little bit, everybody, where we met, when we met, and also this man, this patriot, Mr. Barbeau, that now is rotting in jail, or at least in prison. A little bit about him. I don't remember him, honestly. I met you in person, but I know he was there too. Tell me a little bit, remind to our listener what happened.
So Schuyler was, he was actually Bundy's personal security. So he wasn't out on the line or anything like that. He was back protecting Cliven.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he was targeted for that.
And his name is Schuyler Barbeau, right?
Yeah, Schuyler Barbeau.
Okay.
I didn't meet him at the ranch. I was only there for 2 days, I met him after the ranch when we all gathered again in Oregon.
Okay.
That's where I actually met him, got to shake his hand and got to know him. And he's a good man. He's a Marine veteran, and he's just a good man.
Okay, let me play a little bit.
It bothers me that he's locked up.
Let me play a little bit devil's advocate, okay? Because I'm sure there are a lot of good men out there, but unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't take much today to break the law. There are so many laws that you don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
You break a law, you're still a good man. But after all, we're supposed to be based upon, under the rule of law. Of course, just for us, the politicians don't apply these laws. Hillary can do whatever she wants, and so Obama. That's another story. Now, what exactly happened? I have a little clip here from K5 News, okay? First of all, let's remind our listener, but Mr. Barbeau, from which state is he from originally?
I believe it's from Washington.
Yes, Washington State. Let me play this little short K5 News, okay, that even I don't trust very much the news, but at least there is a little bit of an overview, and then we can a little bit interact about some more information. Let me play right now. Stay there.
Washington. This is King 5 News.
He's defending people and defending people's rights and citizens.
The family of a Stanwood man accused of having ties with domestic terrorism comes to his defense after he's brought before a federal judge on weapons violations. That federal judge declined to release Schuyler Barbeau today after a U.S. attorney argued he made threats against law enforcement officers and may be in possession of explosives.
King 5's Alyssa Hahn was in court today and joins us live with what his family had to say. Alyssa.
Dennis and Lori, this is the young man the FBI first mentioned last Friday because of his alleged ties to domestic terrorism. He is accused of weapons charges for right now, but the FBI actually believes that he's planning some sort of retaliation against law enforcement. Schuyler Barbeau's mother and brother walked out of the federal courthouse in Seattle to join others who showed up to support him, all of them under the careful watch of a beefed-up security detail as the hearing for Barbeau played out on the 18th floor.
I raised him, and he has very strong, very, very strong principles, and he's out to fight against something that is way bigger than he is, and I am very proud of him. That's all I can say. I'm so proud of him.
We have our rights and stuff, and that's what we want is freedom and liberty.
This is video of Barbeau from his Facebook page, an advocate of the militia. in Bundy last year during an armed standoff with authorities when the feds tried to enforce grazing fees on government-owned property.
Basically what Schuyler realized is, wow, my government is going to violate constitutional rights, and they're eventually going to shoot. I better be prepared.
The FBI eventually arrested Barbeau for illegally possessing an assault rifle that, because of its short barrel, required a federal firearms registration. But authorities believe he poses a much greater danger. Today, the assistant U.S. attorney told the judge that Barbeau was trying to buy a .50 caliber rifle that would be, quote, advantageous in a shootout with law enforcement, and that he was seen in photos posing next to explosives that federal agents have yet to locate. This is what the FBI said about him last Friday.
We recently arrested an individual on a domestic terrorism charge, and that has caused us some concerns in the sense that are his followers or his friends, how are they going to react?
But his family says Barbeau is just trying to protect the rights of his fellow citizens and sometimes gets caught up in inflammatory rhetoric.
He gets pretty emotional, I think, when things are happening, injustices are happening around him, and he tends to say some things that maybe I wouldn't say, but I don't believe at all there's any part of him that is out to start anything with anybody.
Barbeau's family insists he loves his country. He served in the Marines and the National Guard and was honorably discharged. His next hearing is a week from today. Reporting live in Seattle, Alyssa Hahn, King 5 News.
Thanks, Alyssa.
Okay, Eric, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, this is pretty much the mainstream news. You know, they give both sides. Now, since you were there, I remember, by the way, now the guy. I saw the face. I didn't talk to him, but I remember his person when I went inside the ranch to meet Mr. Bundy. Now, what do you know, first of all, beside what we heard from the news, beside what we may think, you know, because I don't know the guy. I can say from outside, yeah, he looks like a great guy. But what this really discourages me, what really make me freak out about coming from the FBI's mouth, forget about the charges that, you know, they are real charges, and we can discuss after about that if really we believe that they are constitutional or not. The 1934 Firearm Act, just because you have a rifle, your barrel, it's like half-inch smaller, you become a felon. That's kind of ridiculous, you know. But before we go there, now they believe that is domestic terrorist. Just believe. I mean, this is not about faith. This is not about believing in religion. This is about believing that something, just because suspected. Do you may believe, talking about beliefs, that maybe the FBI now is enforcing the part of the National Defense Authorization Act of 2012 of indefinite detention? All they need to do is suspect you to be a terrorist, and they can throw you in jail forever. Do you believe that maybe that's what's happening here, first of all?
I do. I really do.
Yeah.
That's the most concerning part to me, is the rhetoric coming from the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
I have to, I mean, it begs the question, who are the terrorists he's tied to, you know? Is that all of us that were at the ranch, all of us that were in Oregon at the mine? You know, when we got to the mine in Oregon, we took over vetting for any volunteers that came in. We, the 3% of Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
And we vetted everybody that came to volunteer their time and service. And we met with and talked to everybody, and there were certain people that we asked to leave. Whether they didn't vet out, whether they just gave us a weird feeling, we wanted to make sure that we were doing our best to make sure that we didn't have any loose cannons on our side.
Eric, can you remind to the listeners, when you say Oregon, I know what you're talking about, what exactly, which situation Oregon? Because there was something maybe many listeners may not know, please.
Okay. There was a miner in Oregon who needed help. The sheriff wouldn't help him. The BLM gave him a time where he had to comply with a surface plan. His claim said that he did not have to. It was such an old claim, he didn't have to abide by those policies. They said if he didn't get a surface plan, they were going to come take his cabin and take his equipment. He went to the Oath Keepers and asked for help. The Oath Keepers looked at the case and put security on the mine. They then asked for help. We went over as the 3% of Idaho, drove over with a few of us and helped them run a 15-day mission up to that deadline where we held his mine.
Yes, at least people know what's going on. Why Oregon? You were there like helping out like you did with the Bundys. That's the bottom line. Okay, perfect. So go ahead, please continue.
So what we did was vet everybody that came in. We met them, we talked to them, we made sure that there wasn't anybody there that was looking to do anything that the FBI is talking about right now. Any explosives, any insanity. We looked at everybody coming in, and Schuyler didn't get asked to leave. Schuyler isn't a loose cannon. He does talk big, and I always kind of put that off as shock value. I think he liked bringing people out of their slumber. He would say something that was a little extreme, or people might consider extreme.
You know what is
but
funny?
He would do that to get them. Yeah, he would do that to get them thinking.
Eric, they should put
outside of their natural box.
The federal government should put in jail probably the imam of every mosque in America, or at least most of them. Okay, I mean, if we're talking about extreme, there is so much extreme talk. It's still freedom of speech somehow, unless you really specifically say the specific threat against somebody. That's different, of course. So I don't know.
It didn't happen. It was all taken out of context. Everything the judges read from his statements were taken out of context.
Okay.
He isn't, I've never seen or heard him talking about explosives or anything like that, So it's scary that they're using his First Amendment against him, and it seems like they're trying to build a case for, like you said, the NDAA, a possible domestic terrorist. All we have to do is think.
What is the evidence? What is the evidence? I mean, that's for me the most. Besides that, this Homeland Security or FBI spokesperson there, the director of the area of Washington said, "We believe." Okay, show me the evidence. I mean, after all, everybody should have a bail, and unless you don't have it, it must be a really, really serious crime. So far, nobody got harmed, nobody died, and we don't have any evidence beside, for what we know, allegedly, I don't know for sure, that there was a weapon that they call assault weapon, whatever. The point is, it was a rifle, semi-automatic rifle with a barrel. Instead of being 16 inches, probably it was 14 inches or 15 inches. 1 inch less, and you become a felon unless you have this magic stamp from the ATF, okay? That's the real crime here that supposedly we're supposed to believe. But beside that, I don't know.
That's the only specific crime, but they seem to be veering away from that and really taking the rhetoric towards domestic terrorism. So that worries me a lot as far as, who are these domestic terrorists he has ties to, is it the Bundys? Is it the people that came and stood up for the Bundys, or that went and stood up for Rick, the miner in Oregon? And that seems like that's what they're trying to paint a picture of. So, I would like to take this time to really tell everybody, hey, especially leaders out there in the movement, be smart. You really have to pay attention. I think they're going for setting people up. Make sure you know who your friends are, and make sure you're not doing anything because I really do think that they're starting to push this NDAA thing. And, we all know each other out there, so if they start to try to call it ties to domestic terrorism or whatever, there's all obviously open ties to each other out there.
Yeah, it's time to really be in contact with each other, because I tell you, according to the National Defense Authorization Act that was signed in 2012 by Mr. Obama, and of course renewed the last 2 years, I mean, the clause of the indefinite detention means that you can disappear. You don't have any access to judge, jury, lawyer. You can just disappear forever. And this is exactly what happened in many other countries in the past, and even now can happen, but like North Korea, okay? So we are not that different anymore. This is now being legislated. So, and let me remind you, we have Senator Reid a couple years ago during the time of the standoff. He went out and he decided to call us completely domestic terrorists just because we were there exercising our First Amendment and supporting the rights of this rancher. I mean, let me play one.
Good one. So these people who hold themselves out to be patriots or not. They're nothing more than domestic terrorists. And I think that we are a country that people should follow the law. And what went up in Mesquite is not very good. I repeat, what went on up there is domestic tourism. Okay, domestic terrorism, not tourism.
So I wouldn't be surprised all the different branches of the federal government have been ordered that we are already labeled as a domestic terrorist. Now, do you have any direct contact with the family of Mr. Barbeau? Did you have a chance to talk to anybody in contact with him?
No, just on Facebook. I don't have any direct contact with any of his family.
Because I'd like to know more about what's going on exactly with the case. Some evidence must be somehow being put out. I don't know. Tell me. Go ahead.
So what we did was pay to get access to a database that lawyers access about federal cases. I forget the name of it, what it's called. But we looked at that, and wasn't much information there. What we do know right now that came up today, I believe, is that the warrants that were served to Allen's house, which is the house that Schuyler was staying at, the house that they used, that they flashbanged and broke all the windows and everything. Schuyler wasn't even there. They hit him in a separate raid.
Here we go, guys. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Something very weird happened. I was doing this interview with my friend Eric Parker from Idaho. And out of the blue, I heard a little beep through Skype. I don't know if you catch it on the recording. This was a recorded interview. Then I saved the file. Everything looks good. By the way, this interview is recorded. And so I was recording the interview with Eric. The morning after, I come back to the studio, and the file was shrunk in two, and the part when the rest of this part of the interview that now supposed to be playing was gone. I don't know, guys. I mean, I'm sure it's just something technical. Sometimes things happen, computers, I don't know. But I know that's very weird. We had another 25 minutes interview with Eric Parker from the 3%ers of Idaho that unfortunately I cannot play because it disappeared out of my computer. Who knows? But the show doesn't stop. We'll continue. I'll pretty much now play a part of this story, this interesting, dramatic story with this gentleman, with his alleged domestic terrorist, okay? No bail for this oathkeeper. And let's play 1 second this mainstream King 5 news, I think out of his state. Stay there. Let's play 1 second.
Washington. This is King 5 News.
He's defending people and defending people's rights as citizens.
The family of a Stanwood man accused of having ties with domestic terrorism comes to his defense after he's brought before a federal judge on weapons violations. That federal judge declined to release Schuyler Barbeau today after a U.S. attorney argued he made threats against law enforcement officers and may be in possession of explosives.
King 5's Alyssa Hahn was in court today and joins us live with what his family had to say. Alyssa.
Dennis and Lori, this is the young man the FBI first mentioned last Friday because of his alleged ties to domestic terrorism. He is accused of weapons charges for right now, but the FBI actually believes that he's planning some sort of retaliation against law enforcement. Schuyler Barbeau's mother and brother walked out of the federal courthouse in Seattle to join others who showed up to support him, all of them under the careful watch of a beefed-up security detail as the hearing for Barbeau played out on the 18th floor.
I raised him, and he has very strong, very, very strong principles, and he's out to fight against something that is way bigger than he is, and I am very proud of him. That's all I can say. I'm so proud of him.
We have our rights and stuff, and that's what we want is freedom and liberty.
This is video of Barbeau from his Facebook page, an advocate of the militia in Bundy last year during an armed standoff with authorities when the feds tried to enforce grazing fees on government-owned property.
Basically what Schuyler realized is, wow, my government is going to violate constitutional rights, and they're eventually going to shoot. I better be prepared.
The FBI eventually arrested Barbeau for illegally possessing an assault rifle that, because of its short barrel, required a federal firearms registration. But authorities believe he poses a much greater danger. Today, the assistant U.S. attorney told the judge that Barbeau was trying to buy a .50 caliber rifle that would be, quote, advantageous in a shootout with law enforcement, and that he was seen in photos posing next to explosives that federal agents have yet to locate. This is what the FBI said about him last Friday.
We recently arrested an individual on a domestic terrorism charge, and that has caused us some concerns in the sense that are his followers or his friends, how are they going to react?
But his family says Barbeau is just trying to protect the rights of his fellow citizens and sometimes gets caught up in inflammatory rhetoric.
He gets pretty emotional, I think, when things are happening, injustices are happening around him, and he tends to say some things that maybe I wouldn't say, but I don't believe at all there's any part of him that is out to start anything with anybody.
Barbeau's family insists he loves his country. He served in the Marines and the National Guard and was honorably discharged. His next hearing is a week from today.
Here we go, guys. You know, this is very disturbing because, first of all, right now we have a man that, for what the only charges really could prove, and we don't know yet for sure. I mean, this is not being a trial yet. This is just charges. So for me, everybody's innocent until proven guilty. This is just what the FBI is telling us, that because it was found with a rifle, and they want to make it demonized like an assault weapon. They arrest him because of an assault weapon. Then they specify, because at the barrel, not conform, not long enough, think about it, to comply with the 1934 National Firearms Act. That means, let me spell it out. 1934, United States government, it started really to mess up with the Second Amendment and started to do unconstitutional things. And they think what they did, they started to tax a right, tax the Second Amendment. That means, with the excuse of fighting the mafia and all this, shooting with the machine guns, submachine guns, like the typical Thompson, and when you got shotguns with the barrels cut, things like that, they had to make this stupid law very unconstitutional, and I'll tell you why. Even I'm a guy with an accent, and I'm not a lawyer, I'm not judge. I tell you, I can read the Constitution, I can read what is unconstitutional. That if you have, for example, the barrel of a rifle less than 16 inches, 16. When you are 16 inches, your rifle, you're okay. You're okay, citizen. Pay your taxes, be a good slave, you're okay. But if your rifle is 15.5 inches, that means half inch less, or 15 inches to make it easier, but doesn't matter, 15 enough would be enough, you become a felon if you don't pay this stamp, this tax, is the $200 stamp tax, that in 1934 was a lot of money, because that would be somehow try to curb the appetite for the poor people to have the right to self-defense with maybe a shorter barrel, maybe with a full automatic weapon. So that's the point. Now, the only charge we really have, supposedly, from the federal government, that this man was found in possession of a weapon not complying with this 16 inches rifle barrel, okay? So now automatically you become a felon. But look at the media, how they're spinning it. He was arrested because of the assault weapon, and then comma, space, pause, and there we go. They tell you also this little detail. And by the way, for me that's an insult. And I don't understand how America, since 1934, didn't revolt, didn't stop, didn't call Congress and say, what have you done, you pack of rats, liars? The Second Amendment cannot be taxed, shouldn't be taxed. This is unconstitutional. I tell you why. You know very well that when they try to enforce in the past laws to vote, and when you vote, you must have an ID. Guess what? Just because you don't have an ID, they say that I cannot afford an ID. People maybe cannot afford an ID. If they cannot afford an ID, they're supposed to pay for an ID to prove that there is no voter fraud. That's unconstitutional. Because that's the right. Guess what? This is a right too. The Second Amendment is a right. I shouldn't pay a tax. And, if I don't pay the tax, the federal government, now, for the federal government, I become a felon. I can spend 5 years in federal jail. I'm in prison. This is insane. So, this is the point. But the funny, not funny, the very disturbing thing now, this man is held in jail with no bail. And just because somebody in the federal government suspects, I want to see the evidence. What is the evidence? So just because we have to believe their words? I mean, no bail. I don't even think if you do a bank robbery, you still have bail. Child offender, like sex offender, they got bail. What have this man done? And this is insane. I really believe we start to see here an application of the National Defense Authorization Act 2012, the clause that Obama wanted so much. Of course, that bastard, I hope he can hear me, and all Congress who voted for, these bastards, traitors, that now any one of us, just because we can be suspected with no jury, no trial, no due process, to be domestic terrorists, and we know now the definition according to Homeland Security and all the different agencies the last 10 years at least, if you are a gun owner, if you believe in the Constitution, if you are a veteran, if you're a Christian, if you don't like global government, if you don't like these freaking bastard communists out there of the United Nations, hope they can hear me too, you now become a domestic terrorist. Do you understand that? That's what it's about. This is like this SS during Hitler were created to go after their own people. Okay? So that's the situation, guys. This is a very alarming situation. I'm sorry, Eric Parker, you're listening probably. Our interview, I don't know what happened. I don't know. I want to just believe maybe my computer got crazy. But it's kind of scary to think that I remember 3 years ago there were several attempts that I also put on YouTube, and people can find my YouTube channel, where I was able to see visually attempts of infiltration from IP address that belongs to the, at least for what the IP address was, according to the IP address reverse search, to the Department of Defense, San Antonio, Texas. I got them on video. So I'm not surprised this computer, probably they're having a lot of big fun time spying illegally, unconstitutionally in my computer. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay? So if something happens, maybe they find some love letter that I wrote to Osama bin Laden, you know what happened. That's not me. Okay? So that's all I can say. I would like to pray for this man. I always believe that anybody is innocent until proven guilty. That's the way it's supposed to be. I believe the National Firearm Authorization Act of NFA from 1934 is a pack of treason. That's all the best I can say on the air, because I'm really mad today. And I believe now it's time to prepare, to communicate with each other, to know really well each other. Because people start to disappear. I tell you something, go check it out, Pinochet. That was also propped up by the CIA in Argentina. In Chile. They used to call him the White Death. People disappearing, 20,000 people disappearing, political dissidents, or just people who doesn't, kiss ass to the government at the time of this dictator, disappearing. In the middle of the night, boom, gone. No due process, nothing. This is exactly now the America we're living in. And for you, lefty, if you think, you must be really deserving that, guess what? You're next. Whether now you're going to have the next Republican president doesn't make any big of a pink of a difference anyway. They're going to come after you too. Just because you disagree with the government. Just because you don't maybe like the war. These are endless unconstitutional wars. You're going to be on that list too. Don't worry. No, don't you think because this is your guy. This guy doesn't give a damn about you. Baba couldn't care less about you, Democrat. This man, he doesn't have allegiance to none of us. The only allegiance, the powers that we're serving, they're way above us. We are not part of the club, my friends. And they want to try to put us against each other. Wake up. Everybody deserves due process. Okay? Nobody's supposed to disappear in the middle of the night just because some freaking bureaucrat, wanna-be thug with a uniform and a badge can tell you that I suspect that you're a terrorist. Because maybe he was, raised in a brainwashed family where now is already in his mindset, these people, they belong to a new America with a K. No, we gotta wake up. We gotta stand up. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, everybody deserves due process. And government should have never have that type of unlimited power to put us in jail just because on suspicious and endless, completely infinite, that endless detention. How you want to say? I'm getting excited. I'm getting tired here. So anyway, that's the hour about Second Amendment. So all I want to say, please, when you listen to the news, always analyze with your brain. Not mine, not the TV, your brain. National Firearm Acts 1934, go find out. Something you should know. They've been taxing us on one right, what's supposed to be our right. A good person, a working man, a person who never commit any crime, just because that weapon can be half inch shorter than what the gods, our overlords in government told us. You become a bad person, you can become a felon. Your gun rights gone. Your liberty is gone. So this is a very serious matter. On top, now I'm very concerned about this Mr. Barbeau. We need to keep our ears open, pray for him and his family. And I still want to believe that somehow what is left of this system, we need to give a chance to the family and the attorney to ask and demand evidence and bring more facts, and then we will talk more about it. Now, this is the hour about guns, believe it or not. Even we've been talking about guns. I would like to talk today about training, some ideas for our mind, and also some news. There is so much going on. Before we go into the news, I like to talk about the training part. I have my little book coming out, and I want to thank my friends who are reading the draft version. I appreciate your help. The book should be ready probably in a month or so. It's going to be an ebook. It's called Handgun Training for Self-Defense, Volume 1. Okay, How to Shoot Any Handgun Fast and Accurately for Self-Defense with a Combat Mindset by Luca. Who am I to write a book? No, I'm not an instructor. No, I'm not one of these super famous shooters. No, I'm just a regular guy. But I am what I call myself a professional firearm student. Yes, I'm very professional when it comes to that. I've been dedicating myself the last years, at least the last 10 years, to study, to apply myself. This is not just study on books, okay? I really try to go hands-on practice through other people that they know more than me, try to get the best I can in everything when it comes down to firearms. Why? Is that a hobby? No. Do I hunt? No. Is it for self-defense? Maybe a little bit, but not really. I mean, I said 2x4, I can take care of a lot of business, even just with my a couple of rocks in my hand. But of course, a Glock is better. The reason why, because I really believe the Second Amendment is a serious matter for me. And I understand it. I appreciate it. I didn't have it when I was in Italy. I have it now. And I treasure every comma, every letter, every syllable of the Second Amendment. So I want to try to exercise it not just philosophically, but also practically. And the reason why, because I really believe we are in danger as humanity, as the free Americans. We are not free anymore. And now from this soft tyranny, I really believe they are coming down to a different type of hardcore tyranny. So it's time to prepare in every way. I'm not advocating for violence. I'm a peaceful man, but at the same time, I'm not your freaking slave. So this book is about handgun. And as I said many times, the handgun is not the main tool to defend freedom, but normally is a tool that you can carry with you every time, any time of the day, and with that gun, you can run and you can fight your way to the rifle. That's why I carry handgun. That's it. Now, in this book that you will see pretty soon on Amazon, and you can go if you want, meanwhile, join my newsletter, handguntraining.tv, www.handguntraining.tv. Join my newsletter there, and I'll send you the email when the book is going to be available. It will be available for a very great price. If I could do for free, I would do it free, honestly. But, I have to eat 3 times a day, too. And it took me a lot of time to put it together. So, anyway, it's going to be for $2.99. In ebook format. It's going to be more than 120 pages with photos. And what is about this book? It's mostly everything I learned, the curriculum that I learned at Front Sight, Nevada. And I want to be sure people understand, I am not a Front Sight representative. I do not work for Front Sight. I'm not a Front Sight instructor. But I am a person who, privately, as a life member, I'm probably one of the highest level of life membership, as a patron of Front Sight. I attended many times, almost all the classes, and especially when they come down to the handgun training, I distinguish every class the last few years. Distinguished graduate. At least I can say I studied their curriculum pretty well, and I can perform it on demand. Now, doesn't mean that I'm going to be the front side spokesperson at all. This is just me, what I learned, what went through my brain, what I assimilated, and also what I came out with my other input. But still, my purpose was to create this foundation for a very affordable price for $2.99 for people maybe cannot afford to join Frontside. I mean, Diamond membership, if you go to see the Diamond membership on frontside.com, the membership lifetime costs you $15,000. Not everybody can afford that. Or maybe, $2,000 for a 4-day class is too much. Guess what? I'm going to help you out. I want to give you at least the information, what I learned for the price of a coffee. Now, that's the bottom line. Said that, I'm going to start also to share with you, with my listeners, a part of my book, Handgun Training for Self-Defense. So at least you can get an idea. And there are different parts. This is no more just than shooting, okay? And don't get me wrong, you may have your own way, your system. This is focusing on the 4-day handgun training curriculum, the front side. But I tell you, there is, according to my experience, is one of the most beautiful and complete curriculum that you can get for handgun training. And it's more than just the practical part to shooting. There is also a lot of information that comes before the shooting, mindset, and also legal, and also civil liability, and different other things. Today I wanted to touch, for example, I already touched in the past the color code of mental awareness, and probably we should touch it again. We talked about the combat mindset already. I would like to talk to you about the moral and mental decision to use deadly force. Because that's probably is going to be one of the most important things. We are not here, after all, the barbarians. We don't live in the middle still of Mad Max. So, on top as human beings, law-abiding people, decent people, you cannot just justify yourself and to God and to the law that you can shoot anything moves or anything that just probably you think. No, you must be very sure when you pull the trigger. For yourself, for your soul, for your morals, and also, of course, for the law. So it's important. But that process must be thought and must be, you must think about that now. Because then you must have already cleared the situation in your mind if you can do that or not. Let me tell you, I am not a lawyer. I'm not a judge. I'm just a person who studied this stuff, and I tell you what I learned. So that's a little bit of a personal, let's put it this way, warning, okay? So if you want to go talk to a lawyer, I tell you pretty much what's going on. So anyway, carrying a gun is not for everybody. It is a huge responsibility, and you must do it also with the right knowledge. That's the bottom line. Now, the first question you should ask yourself, am I able and willing to kill another human being if I have no other choice to save my life or the one of an innocent person? Many people probably, you think you can, but not everybody can. People may freeze. People still, even they see that somebody's killing somebody else, they may not pull the trigger, squeeze the trigger, So it's something you must, first of all, clear your mind right now. Believe it or not, many people may be thinking too much. So that's why you must make this decision now. Now, remember something, I do not carry a gun to kill. No, I don't like to kill. Who likes to kill? I mean, only if you're a freak psychopath you like to kill. Okay? I don't care. I don't even like to kill an animal unless I have to defend myself, or maybe because I'm starving. But I don't like to kill anybody. But I carry a gun to save life or to stop a threat. That's our mindset where it should be. That's the bottom line. So, but I already made that moral decision long time ago, before even I started to carry my gun. Okay? So you need to make your decision right now. Are you able to kill another human being if you have to in a situation of self-defense? Of course, with all the moral legal justifications. Okay? Now let's go a little bit to see exactly how you can justify morally and ethically when you can use deadly force. Let me tell you something. Every state, every part of the world has different laws. Okay? Thanks God, because I tell you, I don't like to be under one global universal law. That would be scary. Some countries, some states are better. That's why I live in Arizona. That's why I don't live in Italy. Why I don't live in California. Okay? I still have the right to defend my life. Okay? But where is exactly the line? So let's start to analyze 1 second. First of all, let's see. You must understand the words moral and ethical, and the mental decision to use deadly force. According to the Webster Dictionary, for example, the definition of moral means based on what you think is right and good. That's moral. You're moral. Everybody has different morals. Also, the Webster Dictionary says the definition of ethical: following accepted rules of behavior, morally right and good. So these are rules of behavior, probably set by the society around us. So ethical is different than moral. Deadly force means force causing or enabling to cause death. So let's put it in this way. You must understand that there is not a universal law, but there is for sure some general concept how we can use deadly force. And I give you right now the parameters. First of all, the universal justification that you can use deadly force is when there is a reasonable fear of immediate or unavoidable danger of death or serious bodily injury to an innocent person. Let's look at these words. Reasonable means fair. Is your action going to be reasonable to 12 people of your peers when you go in front of a jury? You must be reasonable. You can be crazy, okay? So, a reasonable fear, you must have a reasonable fear of immediate. It's happening now. Do not confuse it with imminent. That means it's going to happen pretty soon. Big difference. Okay? So it must be an immediate threat. Okay? Unavoidable. That means you cannot be avoided, cannot be prevented. Our goal is always to avoid a confrontation. Good gun owners don't want to be in a confrontation. They understand the responsibility they carry. I mean, guess what? I carry a gun. I never been in a gunfight. I never been, of course, in a fist fight. I try to avoid confrontation. If somebody's jerk, I say, okay, whatever, see ya. Put your macho ego aside. When you carry the gun, you have much more responsibility. But we are not victims. That's the bottom line. Let's keep going. Unavoidable. So, remember, in some states, still, you have the opportunity and the right to stand your ground. Okay? You don't have to run. I always suggest if you can avoid, it's better, but you don't have to run. Then, we're saying a reasonable fear of immediate or unavoidable danger of death or seriously bodily injury. Death, we know, is at the end of life. Innocent, who is the innocent? Somebody is not guilty of a crime. Okay, so does not deserve to be harmed. So when you decide to defend somebody with deadly force, be sure that he's not a criminal, okay? That's the bottom line. And seriously bodily injury means that something that could be permanently damage you. Somebody give you a slap on your face, that's not a seriously bodily injury, okay? Or if you spit on your face, that's not justify the type of reaction. So that's the bottom line. These are the elements. Now let's look a little bit about reasonable intent, opportunity. So, for example, how do we know that our fear of this immediate danger of death or seriously bodily danger, as I said, is reasonable? You know, you have three elements to verify that somebody has reasonable, you have reasonable danger. First of all, the intent. The attack must show you with actions or words his or her intention to kill or to cause seriously bodily injury. So it must be an intent. Okay? Opportunity. The attacker must have the capability to inflict immediate harm. How? With firearms, could be with hands, with objects. Of course, there is also what type of distance. You know, with the empty hands, the distance could be much closer. By somebody shooting at you with a rifle, even 200 yards, yeah, that could be justifiable, the distance. Because 200 yards with a rifle, you can be hit. They can hit you, they can harm you, they can kill you. The ability. Does the attacker possess the physical power or ability to do that? But what if you are facing, for example, an attacker without weapons? It's all relative. Let's say if you are a woman and you have to face a 300-pound man Yeah, he can kill you with empty hands. That would be justifiable. What if you're a person with a handicap, or if you are an older man on a wheelchair? Yeah, even if somebody's trying to attack you with empty hands, that would be justifiable. But as I said, okay, you articulate, can be reasonable. Okay, so that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. Let's put it this way. As a general rule, if you have any doubt about using deadly force, 90% of the situations you should not use it. That's the bottom line. If you still have any doubt, means you probably shouldn't use it. Think about it. But you know that if there is no more any type of doubt, because, I'm going to be dying in the next few seconds, maybe now, if I don't do something, you don't care anymore about thinking the potential, civil or criminal consequences, because your life is more important. At that point, it's your call. So how can we avoid? Because I always believe the best thing to do in a gunfight is to avoid it. Because after all, if we were aware enough of our surroundings, we would never put ourselves in that situation. If we come to a point that we need to defend our life or the innocent's life, because probably we were aware enough and we let it slide all this too close to that point. So awareness is very important. So we always should be vigilant, and the color of mental awareness, they're very important. And I told you already, if you don't remember, send me a link, I'll send you eventually this free chapter as a gift. You can go to lovegunsfreedom.com, send me the link, send me an email, say, please, Luca, can you send me the chapter of the colors of mental awareness, and I'll send it to you. It's free, as my gift, okay? Because you're my listener. Anyway, and the bottom line is we should be always in condition yellow. So in this way, we could see the fight coming to us, and we can avoid it. Because remember, the best fight is the one we can avoid. Number 2, de-escalation. We always should try to de-escalate the situation. There is a saying, an armed society is a polite society. I really believe that. If you're an abiding citizen and you're armed, normally they are very polite people. If you're a scumbag, of course, you're a jerk no matter with or without a gun. So, when we understand the responsibility that we have as the gun owners, we always try to avoid the confrontation. Let's say somebody, I don't know, you go to the parking lot, and somebody is coming and trying to be a jerk, get your space. Whatever, get your space and move on. Or, avoid it. It's not worth it. I mean, if they're jerks, they're jerks. Karma is going to get it back at them, okay? That's the bottom line. I never want to be in a fight unless really you put me with the shoulder on the wall and I have no other way, and I'm not going to be a victim. Then I'm going to become your worst enemy. By that point, if you can avoid it, I really have no ego to prove anything to anybody. Okay? So de-escalation is very important. Then, let's say somebody doesn't want to de-escalate. You need to start to gradually, if you can, of course, maybe they go straight for your throat. There is nothing to de-escalate. You got to defend yourself. But verbal commands are very important. For example, let's visualize the scenario. You're walking, in the parking lot. It's night. There's somebody walking towards you, and he has a little shiny object in his hand. You don't know. Could be even lighter. Could be nothing. Could be a knife, though. But I start to scream at you now and ask you for money. Hey, what's up, bruh? Give me some money. You know how they do. Would you like to have this person come close to you, even to get close enough to talk to you? I don't think so. What if really that person, instead of having a little, maybe, I don't know, a pack of cigarettes, or maybe you have a lighter, they have a knife. They could slice your throat in a second. So at the same time, though, you cannot start shooting at him because you think, or maybe because he looks suspicious, maybe he's just drunk. So what you do at this point? What do you do? We start to use verbal command. Start to give a very loud warning. Loud means loud. Rehearse this at home. Okay, don't just say, excuse me, can you stop it? No, shout, stop right there. Okay? At the same time, what you do, you lift your hands forward him like you're pushing him away. Why you have to do all this show? First of all, you scream loud, stop right there. The average person, let's say that person that is in good faith, is going to freak out and say, okay, sorry, I'm not going to come there close to you. Then, though, why this verbal, also this hand command? Because maybe the person is deaf. Guess what? That type of hands in front of you, pushing away, it's a universal command. Even if you're from Italy like me and don't speak English, I understand that. And more important, hopefully there are video cameras around and there are witnesses. And everybody can see that you're not the aggressor. You're trying to defuse this potential aggression situation. So that's very important. At that point, this person say, you know what, screw it. He doesn't listen to your command. He doesn't care about your visual command. He still keep walking and start to scream. Guess what? It's walking toward you. It's not close enough, but it's getting closer. You gotta start to move some action now. At that point, what I would suggest to do, you present your gun to the ready. To the ready means not on target. On the ready means 45 degrees to the ground, finger off the trigger, and you scream, stop or I shoot. You show him that you are not a victim. You show him that you are not there to take it. You give him all the reasonable warning to stay the hell away from you. And this son of a crap, this parasitic bastard doesn't care. Okay, now you show him that you're ready to defend yourself. At this point, any normal person, even an average scumbag, will freak out. You know? Because you realize that you're serious. You're serious. You're ready to defend yourself. But at the same time, you didn't point a gun to anybody. That's very important. You didn't point a gun. But you have enough justification to say, I gave him the verbal command, I gave him the visual command, he didn't stop, he's coming close to me, I'm fearing for my life, and now I point my gun to the ready, stop or I shoot. That's the bottom line. At that point, normal person would just run or apologize. But maybe there's another normal person, maybe this guy is on drugs. Maybe at this point is going to say, you know what? Scenario. You see you with a gun, stop or I shoot, and say, so what? And he pulls out a knife. Remember, in 21 feet can be covered by a regular scumbag in less than 2 seconds. So not just because the person is 21 feet away, with a knife they can catch you very easily. So at that point, it's up to you to decide if that situation fits the information I gave you before. Do we have a reasonable fear? Yes, this guy wants your money, asks you for the money, ignores your verbal commands to stay away. Then it's night. There's nobody around. Is there an immediate danger? Yes, it's happening right now. Unavoidable. Yeah, you try to avoid it any way you could. You could not retreat. You're still outside the car. You couldn't get out in the car fast enough, maybe. Is any danger of death? Yes, the guy has a knife. And also told you he's going to kill you now. To an innocent person? Yes, you're an innocent person. So at that point, my friends, I really believe that you must follow the decision that we were talking at the beginning of this idea, of this chapter. Okay? It's time to decide if somebody is charging you with a knife. It's up to you. If you want to do Gandhi, you want to kill yourself, fine. That's your personal choice. I'm not here to judge you. You got to do what you think is right for you. This is just a little, remembering what I wrote in this chapter. Of course, I cut it off a lot. It's just me remembering with my mind. I wrote it and read it many times, almost memorized it. Chapter 6, Moral and Mental Decision of to Use Deadly Force. From my coming handgun book, for self-defense, handgun training for self-defense, how to shoot any handgun fast and accurately for self-defense with a combat mindset by myself, Luca Zanna, professional firearms student. Okay? $2.99. The price probably of your frappuccino at that ridiculous place called Starbucks. You know, I don't like Starbucks very much. Their politics sucks. Even their coffee anyway. So anyway, guys, listen, I appreciate your help. Okay? I really do. And please, I need your support. This is not NPR. We do not steal your money through tax dollar. We do not coerce you to pay without your will. I hope you can support the station. The station is a commercial station. It's a private station. Is alive because people can, buy their products. So support the station. At the same time, you know that I am not part of the station. I'm an independent producer. And if you can support me, it's very simple. You can go to Zanna, ZANNA.us. Can download any of my music for 99 cents or buy my CDs. There's a small, beautiful package, 4 CDs for $25, free shipping, or go to lovegunsfreedom.com. You can see I have different things for sale. Please, I need your help. Anyway, I want to leave you now with a little bit of music, and then we go for hour number 3. It's going to be all about love. Believe it or not, even when things seem to be tough, I really believe that we have to be a little tougher. So all I can say is this. If somebody's trying to mess with my computer, screw you. I'm going to do the show again and again. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Don't go away.
Here they come. They're coming for your guns. Here they come. They're coming for your sons. Here they come. They're coming for your land. Are you ready to stand? Are you ready to stand? Here they come. The end has just begun. Here they come. This time we won't run. Here they come. Together we're not outdone. If we fight as one, if we fight as one, we'd rather live free for just one day than be your slaves, than be your slaves. We'd rather live free for just one day than obey. We're not afraid. The truth has risen. Our minds have no more prisons. Your illusions have disappeared. In the sun we have no fear. Now is our time.
Have you ever met someone on an online dating site and thought, wow, this guy is perfect for me, or she is simply amazing, only to find out they were hiding a deep, dark secret? They plan to vote for Hillary. FreedomLovers.us was created for singles who want to exchange ideas and a love for freedom. People who are looking for solutions to create and defend freedom in the real world, and at the same time getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to find their true soulmate. Whether you are interested in meeting your soulmate, making new friends, networking, or hanging out with that like-minded liberty lover, visit FreedomLovers.us. It's the first free dating site and community. So patriots, don't waste your time with other dating sites. FreedomLovers.us is the place where like-minded singles really live.
Here we go, guys. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on KTOX 1340 AM and also on UnitedStates.fm network. This is for me probably the most beautiful hour of the show. The hour that finally I started to relax. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of topics that are going to pretty much keep us awake. But I'm tired a little bit. After 3 hours talking about all these things happening to our country, to our rights, and I try to find a positive way. There is always a positive way. And I always said love is the most powerful weapon to defeat evil. Of course, good guns and a rifle always helps. But love is the main motivator. And in this hour, normally I talk about love. Sometimes we go through recipes. Sometimes we go through other different things. We talk about every type of love. Now, today's love, I wanted to talk with you about what we can do to try to defend and wake up, not just us, but also our neighbors. Because we are under attack, seriously. I really believe not by stupidity, it's not even just by greed anymore. There is a much most nefarious plan to harm us, to make us stupid, and unfortunately at the end kill us. That's the bottom line. So there is so much going on now in this country, like also around the world, about these smart meters. I call them smart meters for dumb people. Unfortunately, we are becoming dumber and dumber. And I think really that this is not by accident. And we need to find a way legally, and also together as people, as American in this case, since you are listening from America, but if you are anywhere in the world, I don't care where you're from, to try to document and inform ourselves, understand our rights, and also understand the dangers. I don't care that they can tell us that we have to jump. We don't have to jump. After all, we pay. We are the customers, and we can always say no if we want to. Even, of course, there are different stories because, after all, they control the monopoly of all these energy sources. Now, let's go back to the people, the guests I have today. I have two gentlemen that they are from the East Coast, and I know that they are pretty much informed about this smart meter situation. I studied a little bit about them, and I wanted to bring them in. Let me, first of all, I think I already made my first mistake. You are not from the East Coast. John, are you there, John?
Yes, I am. Not exactly. We're from Michigan.
Michigan. You see, I had my first bleep or blump or whatever, blunder of the night, okay? John Tatter, correct?
Tater, yes.
Tater, okay. And there is also, of course, your partner. Please help me out with the last name. Introduce yourself so I don't blump completely here. Go ahead.
Ron Sasek.
Perfect. Nice to meet you, Ron. Now, I've been introduced by a common friend, by the way, Ken, that is a listener of the show, that you are very informed about the smart meter situation. Before we go into the smart meters, can you give us a little bit about you, your background, because everybody has a different background, humanity, also professionally. John, start with you, please.
I was a school teacher for 31 years, teaching various subject matters, home construction, building trades, building maintenance, and American history and government.
Wow.
So I have some knowledge about construction of houses. Actually, the school system that I work for built 19 houses in the city of Livonia with high school students.
Mm-hmm.
So that was part of my background. The other part of my background was with the military. I was 31 years in the United States Army Reserve. I'm a veteran of Desert Storm 1.
Wow.
And my background in the military, I retired as a lieutenant colonel.
Wow.
And my background in the military was in the medical service corps, so I had some medical background also.
Wow, interesting. Very good. I'm glad to ask you these questions because, before when we start to talk about topics like this, I mean, everybody can have an opinion, first of all. We are not here as scientists, but I tell you, more you have credibility, more we have people that have background like yours, more we can make a case. Perfect. Now, Ron, tell us a little bit about you.
Background is I born and raised in Dearborn, Michigan, graduated the University of Detroit in 1977, went to the Detroit College of Law and graduated with my law degree, JD, in 1981, and never joined the bar.
Very
good. Had problems with things about giving up my sovereignty and giving them jurisdiction over controlling my life. And got into a little bit of trouble with the feds over taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Went to federal penitentiary for close to a year.
Wow.
In 1987.
Interesting.
Came out. Have always known John Tater for the last 35 years, and he got me interested in the smart meter fight. And I'm kind of like the background person to look into issues, help people clarify what the law stands for or doesn't stand for, and what cases it might stand for that can be used to help fight this, and other issues about reestablishing the republics.
Excellent. By the way, I'm going through, it's a very interesting background. I mean, for many levels, I had a show in the past talking about the bar and the fraud and pretty much where we are right now in this country. That's almost worth to do another show just because of that. But I'm glad you told me that. And let's give a couple of websites. You have a couple of websites that people can reach you out, at least can find out more about you. John, can you please give your main website?
Yes, our main website is One If Byland, and that's all spelled out, ONEIFBYLAND .org.
Yes, excellent.
And on that website, we cover several areas, both on the smart meters, how to protect yourself about the smart meters, and also the legal issues that we are going to talk about today also.
Perfect. By the way, is that you dressed as Benjamin Franklin? At least you look like.
I've been accused of looking like Benjamin Franklin, although I don't think I do, but anyway.
Okay, in that photo, listen, I'm from Italy, okay? All I did, I study books and things like that, and I watch documentaries. But if I had to visualize Benjamin Franklin, it looks like you in the photo, okay? That's pretty much the way it looks like. Perfect. All right, listen, guys, let's start. My only goal is this, listeners, okay? You may drive now, you may drive around, you may listen to the show from home, and maybe you think whatever you don't see, it doesn't hurt you. That's not the case, okay? Try to put your head in a microwave, okay? And let's see what's going to happen after a few minutes. Think about that. without getting too extreme, think about that you have a microwave working 24/7, 365 just in the back of your home, and you're surrounded by an extra 200 homes if you live in some sort of a city area, not like myself, I live in the middle of nowhere. Think about you are pretty much living 24/7, 365 surrounded by microwaves. You, your children, your family. You think that the smart meter is something so completely innocuous? I don't think so. And I don't need to be a doctor or a professor or have some sort of a degree. I'm a regular guy. My brain still works. So I'm here. All I want to do, I want to bring facts and reasoning to show that I really believe, according to facts, that the smart meters, they're very dangerous to us and also to our freedoms. Now, at that point, it's up to all of you guys, listeners, to decide if you want just to shut up and be a good slave and go back to your little hoard, your little place where you're gonna go and sleep for the night, ready for another day of slavery, or you wanna come back at night and start to talk with your wife, with your husband, or with your boyfriend, I don't care what you like, and with your kids, and start to make a plan with other neighbors and say, no, we are not your slave, you're not gonna control us like that, and we're not gonna be facing microwaving 24/7 just because you say so. It's up to you. All I can bring you is facts. John, I leave you the floor. I'm shut up. Go ahead. Make the case.
Okay. I first of all have an issue with terminology. And
yes.
Terminology plays a very important part in our court system as well as in the, quote, legal system. You called us customers. I don't consider myself a customer. I consider myself a citizen. And the reason I consider myself a citizen is because I'm the sovereign. And if we look at a Supreme Court decision called Downs versus Bidwell, and they can look that up on our website, there's a quote I want to read to you. It's not very long, but it's very pertinent about what's going on. So it says, basically, it's by Justice Matthews, and he says, when we consider the nature and the theory of our institutions of government, the principles upon which they are supposed to rest, and review the history of our development, we are constrained to conclude that they do not mean to leave room for the play and action of purely personal and arbitrary power. Sovereignty itself is, of course, not subject to law, for it is the author and the source of law. But in our system, while sovereign powers are delegated to the agencies of government, here we delegate the sovereign powers to that's my point, to the agencies of government, sovereignty itself remains with the people, by whom and for whom all governments exist and act. And the law is the definition and limitation of power. So here we say that sovereignty itself belongs to the people. And laws are made by us, therefore we do not need to be following those laws because we are the authors of those laws.
Okay.
But you can find that further written on our website. That quote is there. When it comes to smart meters, we are now living in what we call a corporation world, or corporatism. Or, if you want to go back to Mussolini's time, fascism, where the corporation and the government melt together, and the corporations run the government. That's where we're at. And the people that follow along just to follow along because they don't want to get involved, or they don't want to spend the time, or they don't want to fight, they are creating a problem here. Because what the corporatism wants to do is take us to Agenda 21.
Yes.
And Agenda 21 is the new 21st century idea of where they want the people to be. They want us to live in little cubicles. They want us to not have the resources we have anymore. They want to control everything, and they want to make us their little slaves. So, as far as the smart meter goes, there are many issues involved with smart meters. First of all, it's a safety issue. We have had several houses in Michigan, in fact, one just recently, blow up from a smart meter.
Wow.
We've had several fires in Michigan. Now, California is really good at it. They're doing a lot of different fires out there. In fact, they had a truck hit a pole and 8,000 smart meters blew up. Anybody can go on the internet and look that up.
Oh my gosh.
That stuff is all out there. However, in our particular state, Michigan, our public functionaries, our elected officials, public functionaries, are trying to hide the fires and the safety issues and trying to ignore all of the things that the people are saying, thinking that they're in charge. But when in fact we, the people, are in charge. They're not in charge. The other issue is a health issue. As you spoke earlier, it's a microwave issue that they're shooting microwaves. Not only is it the smart meter, but it's the Wi-Fi in your house. It's the smart meter towers, cell towers. It's the cell phone. 30 years ago, if they would have said to the people in the United States that we're going to put a device on you that's going to track you everywhere you go and everything you do, the people 30 years ago would have grabbed the government and probably hung most of them. But today, we all carry around cell phones.
Yeah.
And our cell phone is the perfect tracking device that the government has.
And we pay for it.
So, and we pay for it. We pay for our own tracking, our own dog collar that we put around our neck so we can be watched at as to what we do.
Yep.
Now, the microwave is definite issue because it's going on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're being microwaved that period of time. If you have a smart house and you get your smart appliances, which are eventually going to be the stove, refrigerator, and so on and so forth, these appliances will then be tracked by the smart meter, and even things like DVD players will be tracked by the smart meter. So they'll know exactly what you're watching. They'll be able to watch you and listen to you in your home and so on and so forth. But the problem is that your house becomes a complete Wi-Fi or microwave center where you're living in the middle of it. So you're not only getting microwaved by the smart meter, but you're getting blasted by all of the Wi-Fi and everything else going on in the house constantly. Now, if it isn't affecting you immediately like it does some people that are highly sensitive, it is affecting you. It just may take longer to affect you. So those are problems. Another one's an environmental issue. It's been killing animals, birds, bees, insects, trees, plants, etc., as well as some of you that might have smart meters on your own personal homes and you have flowers around the smart meter, you will find that those flowers are dying. They're dying because they're being microwaved.
Yes, and let me stop you 1 second, Ollie. This is so important. Guys, this is not the regular show that you're listening normally to entertain yourself. This could be about your life or death. And maybe not today, as you said, but maybe one day you're going to find out a few years from now, oh, why did I get cancer? Or why my son has leukemia? Or why I have all these headaches and I have to take medication, of course, going to drive you crazy. Guys, this is a serious matter. Please, listeners. I'm not here to try to entertain you or to try to make you feel anything, but what we are bringing here is solid information. And I invite you to do your researches. Seriously. It's so important. And now I would like to ask you one more thing. We just going to scratching the surface. I can try to play the devil's advocate and say, what are you talking about? After all, the government supposed to control all these things. The FDA and all these type of agencies, they are here to protect us. Don't be a conspiracy theory and put your little helmet made of tinfoil hat. That would be the typical average ignorant person who would tell you. We know very well the FDA is not here to protect us. We know many times they've been caught, first of all, playing bought cars, but more important, we know many recalls in different type of items and medication. We've been after people being dead. So what do we have right now, the government? What does it say, the government, about these smart meters? Why are they letting them happen?
Well, this is Ron speaking. This is the general tenor of people saying, we know there's things that are wrong with society, with government, with people, with agencies, with corporations. And a lot of people in society will point to the fringe flag issues, the UCC, the all capital letters that people use, that gives them jurisdiction over us. From my research and knowledge is that the republic, which we are established as, on both the triple, the federal level, the state government level, and county levels, are in distress. And in a republic, it's about delegated authority. If the citizens don't delegate it to that individual branch of government, whether it be the federal Congress or the state legislatures where you live, or even the county people, they cannot exercise power concerning that ability, no authority.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at what people are being exposed to, it's the republic in distress. It's on its head. The flag is upside down.
Yes.
We cannot delegate authority to them that we cannot possess ourselves. And I use the analogy. Can you force your neighbor's wife to carry her pregnancy to term? You can't.
No.
Can your neighbor's wife and husband force you to pay for the upbringing of that child that they bear in their own household?
Yes.
No, they can't.
No, but they're doing
society,
it.
through our lack of knowledge and awareness, say the government is looking out for everybody's interest. So they then step in and say, well, we can resolve those issues for you.
Yeah.
They can't. They cannot exercise authority that we ourselves cannot possess ourselves. They can't make it up. They can't. And this is the republic, again, upside down. The smart meter issue, again, goes hand in glove with this idea that the corporations think under Agenda 21 they have to get us to accept these so that they can reduce the coal-burning power plants to reduce CO2 emissions. And they don't want to build anymore. And in Michigan, they're decommissioning them. So they want people to use less energy. But again, the federal government wanted this to be done voluntarily. They gave the local energy companies money to implement the smart grid, and people would get a break on their electric bill. But now they're just mandating it, say you have to take it. And under the law, whether it be by the Michigan Public Service Commission, they're doing it improperly. So we've got court cases going, not personally, but court cases that other people have brought up, where the MPSC has issued a ruling that people can keep their analog meters, mechanical, electrical meters. And the utility companies aren't letting them keep it. They say they no longer are in production, and we know that's a lie.
Yeah.
So from the standpoint of the legal side this isn't just smart meters. This is, again, invasions into our lives over the whole gambit. We hear on the news all the time, we're a democracy. We're a democracy. Democracy is mob rule, and that governments that are democracies destroy themselves from within. We are a republic. And John's quote from Downs versus Biddle talks about that. The government can only exercise authority that we delegate to them.
Yes.
And back in history, we delegated them the authority to control the production, regulation, and transportation of alcohol. Still couldn't stop you from drinking it. They could just control and regulate those who manufactured it for sale. You could make your own wine and bathtub gin for your own personal use. And again, that was our delegation of our authority to them to control it, because everybody, the progressives said that if we eliminate alcohol, the father won't come home from working in the Industrial Revolution, go after he stops at the beer garden, come home, hit the wife, beat the kids, and kick the dog. And that will resolve that issue, and the family unit will be maintained. But that was a horrendous error, and it was repealed.
John.
So when we look at now with the Republic, if we get it back upright, these actions of smart meter implementation, forced vaccinations on children will be, again, backtracked.
John, let me ask you.
Citizens being educated. Go ahead.
Let me ask you a question. The point now, we're under attack immediately. There is already, for example, they came to one of my homes here in Arizona, Mojave County, a couple of weeks ago. The lady was very nice. I don't know, now they're sending these ladies to do this technical job. I think they're trying to play this diplomatic card, probably. But I said, you know what? She said, we have to put the new meter. Said, that's not going to happen. First of all, there is a gate. You cannot walk into my property unless I want to. Even, of course, technically they think they can, but I'm not going to open the gate. So they need to find out another way. So anyway, I said, no, you're not going to be able to do this, because I don't want the new meters. I don't want the new digital meters. I don't want the smart meters. And she was trying to say, no, this is not a smart meter. This is just a digital. I said, listen, please, let's not play the game. Everything digital now, it's smart. But the point, I don't want it. And then, of course, the supervisor called me a few days later, and I said, I don't want any type of changes. Simple as that. And technically, they kept this analogical meter. Now, this is Arizona. I don't know exactly what's going on in many other states. They told me that probably soon I may pay more. I don't know. We will see. I also told them probably soon I may start to go straight solar, so I don't need to talk to them anymore. So but I'm in position I can do that. Many other people, unfortunately, I know they cannot do that. They cannot start to put solar. Maybe they can, I don't know, they cannot even think to have an increase in their fees. What really every state is different, or we have still some sort of control in every state that we can say no, we can deny that? What's going on really?
This is John again. What I'd like to say is if you go to our website again, oneifbyland.org, you will see that there are, if you go to smart meters, you'll see that I have developed some locks to lock the analog meter onto the house so the power company cannot swap the meter out. Now, we have installed about 1,000 of them in the state of Michigan.
Wow.
And a couple of them have been compromised, but we still have quite a few out there. And we also have letters. Once they send you a letter stating that you have to give them access, we have letters quoting the law. They quote us the rules.
Wow.
We quote them the law.
Excellent.
And after several times, they kind of back off, and they don't bother people after that.
Let me give this website one more time. oneifbyland.org. Oneifbyland.org. Please, everybody goes there. I really wish everybody can go there and check it out, because I'm reading right now. This is a really good information, by the way. Great job.
What we have established is a front line, that they cannot, they can do so much and they can threaten so much, but the people are starting to stand. And what we have to have is people that are saying, no, this is dangerous. I don't want this on my house. I'm in charge. I'm in charge of my own personal property and my own personal house, and you cannot put this device on my property. Because the smart meter people have come up with a device that not only measures electricity, but does everything else, spies, sends information to and from your house to them and from their house to you. They can also send, using the proper stuff, what's the word I'm looking for? Using the proper range of frequency. That's what I'm looking for. The proper frequency. They can they can instill stuff into your brain, because we are electrical.
Yes.
Our bodies are electric, and we respond to electricity. The smart meter is not only creating radio or RF frequency, which is microwave frequency, but EMF, which is electromagnetic frequency. So you're fighting two electrical problems that are interfering with your body. And like I said, if it isn't affecting you at this moment, it will. The people that are really getting affected seriously are the very young, who are just developing, and the elderly, who have had difficulties with immune systems and so on and so forth. It's affecting those two seriously. And those in between, if you take your cell phone, you stick it on your head, and you talk with it so close to your head all the time, there's a good chance you will develop some sort of a cancer.
Yes.
There's plenty of information out on the internet, and anybody that hasn't looked at that stuff needs to look at it, because this is affecting their lives, your lives.
I would like to remind everybody that maybe sometimes, I was one of them, okay? Don't get me wrong. Probably 14 years ago, I was kind of naive on many issues, just coming back from Italy. And I know many Americans, they're still very naive. It's time to wake up. I know we feel like almost we are living in some sort of a nightmare horror movie, 1984 on steroids, but this is real. There was 3 years ago or so, I remember on mainstream news, the former CIA director admitting it. And I can get a video clip right now, probably. I will play the audio, of course, that this is now mainstream. The CIA director was admitting that now through the electrical grid and through the different appliance, we can spy on anybody. It is not just to see how many times you open your fridge, but they can start to see also how many times you eat the type of food, how many times you use that type of tool. For example, now in California, they can give you fines if you use too much water, because of course they created the scarcity of water. Then they're going to give you this sort of regime like almost austerity. You can take so many showers like a slave. They tell you how much water you can use. And how do you think they can find out how many water you can use? Because everything now is connected to a grid. It's everything digital. And there is much more. they can also listen to us. It's not just through the smart TV. There's also now the internet goes through directly the electrical grid. So this is real, guys. It's not some sort of we're trying to get too excited about extreme things that don't exist. They are all mainstream and probably also very dated for them, not for us. So that's all I want to say. It's going to be like living. You remember the movie 1984? There was one in black and white. I forgot exactly when. That there is this big guy that comes straight to you in the family where is the dinner table, and everybody must check with a big eye. You know, they say hi. I mean, that's what we are going to live. Like in 1984. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Am I too exaggerated about this, or this is real?
You there?
John, are you there? You think I'm too extreme thinking that we are living already like a 1984 movie? I mean, is this real that they're watching everything we do in our homes?
I wanted to point out, since you were talking about using showers and stuff, the smart meters are not only for electricity, they're for gas meters and for water meters.
Mm-hmm.
And the gas, water are going to be read by the electric meter, and so they can turn on and off your utilities at will anytime. They're going to carbon credits sometime in the future. If they haven't heard about that already on the news, if they listen a little more carefully, they're going to give us carbon credits, and when we use up those carbon credits in the middle of winter, too bad. You're done. You've used up your carbon credits. You don't get any more.
Wow.
This is a problem. They are going to be using this to clamp down on Americans in any possible way, politically, if you're not politically correct and so on and so forth. If you say the wrong things, they'll be able to shut you down. This is very nefarious.
This is like really a bad movie. I tell you, speaking about movies, there was a TV series that I was able to get some sort of a DVD version, and I think wasn't even legal. I mean, I bought it on eBay. I don't know exactly. You remember America with a K from the late?
Yeah.
Did you watch that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. That's, for me, what we are living now, what's going to happen in the next few years. Everything. I invite everybody out there. You can put their hands on a copy of America with a K. There was one actor, I think is Christopher, what is the name? Christopherson? I forgot his name. One is Robert Urich. Am I right? One of the main.
I don't remember the actors. It's been a while.
Yeah, but I tell you, is that exactly the America post Agenda 21? Don't you think it looks like that? I mean, by the numbers, really. What do you think?
Well, that's what it looks like. But let me go back to your discussion you had with your power company.
Yes, please.
You were acting and had the attitude of a citizen wanting to live in the republics.
Yeah.
They cannot mandate you to take technology as long as you're not stealing electricity and you're not in default on your payments. And you do allow access for it to be read, or you can read it yourself and send them to the power company to be billed.
Mm-hmm.
But as citizens, we're not taught how to live in a republic anymore. If we're citizens of the republics, we'll be self-regulating and self-controlling. And we won't need these forced mandates because, again, Agenda 21 will not even come into existence. But what you're, again, painting the picture of, yeah, it is America with a K. But, again, with the republic can be restored by citizens such as yourself and your listeners to say, I'm not going to take this, but the fight has to be based in the law.
Yeah.
The fight has to be based in what you are allowed to do as a commissioner for the county to say we can deploy these items or you can't. And if you deploy them, we can't force them on people. You can only give them to them if they volunteer to it in the republic. And that's what's being lost now. And you're right, the landscape is very, very upside down. And it's very scary. But it still can be, again, backtracked.
Yeah.
And that's where I come from and say that we're a republic on the national, state, county, and city level, and we have to get our public functionaries to behave what is called de jure. Constitutional and according to the laws passed in conjunction therewith. And they're not doing it.
Exactly.
They're doing it as usurpers.
Wrong.
They're taking on authority that they were never delegated to exercise.
Exactly. And I would like to ask to Ron, at the end of the day, there is always the struggle for humanity. Nothing new. I mean, I look at the history, the time of the Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians. I mean, slaves and the masters, they've always been fighting against each other. I mean, we've always been humanity has always been struggling for freedom. That's the fact. Now it's a new level of technocracy, okay? It's even going to be more dangerous because we have technology that probably maybe they didn't have 2,000 years ago. So we're going to be facing even stronger enemy in this way, but we have always the duty to stand up and to fight back like you're doing, guys. And I really tell you, I'm really proud of you because I'm reading more and more about your video and about your website and watching some of your videos and stuff like that. And I tell you, there is an individual that's never going to die. Every one of us could stop a mountain, even just sometimes we think we are alone. I mean, let's talk a little bit, for example, a little more about you, Ron, regarding the situation that you started to become a lawyer, okay? But something happens to you, and I say, you know what? I don't want to be a lawyer because why? Why you didn't go all the way down to that hole that most of the lawyers are? Tell us a little bit because I don't want to go too long on this, but it's part of the problem because sometimes we forget. We go in front of a judge. This is not exactly what we're supposed to have. Please give us the short story, educational version of why you didn't go under the bar.
In law school, I was doing my best to stay abreast of anything and doing what I had to do for particular classes. And near graduate, I should say a year from graduation, my brother heard an individual, or his wife did, named John Freeman. And he was saying that the law isn't being taught in law schools and there's being mistakes being made, and Ohio isn't a state, and blah, blah, blah. My brother had him come into Livonia. He held a seminar in a hotel. I was there. I took notes, and I had the ability to research what he said. I went back to the law school at my free time, and whatever I could investigate that he said to look up, and if I was able to find it, he was telling the truth. There were certain things I couldn't verify that he said. I just couldn't find the verification in the law library. But with that made me aware that there's something going on here. And part of it was when I did graduate, and I was again going to take the bar, the application says everything are just fill in this blank, check this, check that, where do you live, how old are you, blah, blah, blah. But you come to a paragraph on my application that you have to handwrite in your own handwriting and copy a paragraph. I, so-and-so, upon application to take this bar for the state of Michigan, do hereby again attest that I will be loyal and support the government, not the Constitution.
Wow.
Not the Constitution of Michigan or the United States Constitution, but the words, the government. It has to be in your own handwriting.
Wow.
On your application just to sit for the bar.
Oh, my gosh.
And this was, again, a red flag that I said, I can't go through with this. Now, at different times, I had different ideas, and again, it was a learning curve.
Interesting. I didn't know about this handwriting part. I knew other things, but wow, it is really, there is so much. And the reality now is, for example, you study as a lawyer, okay? When I was in Italy, I didn't go to all the law school, but I was almost there. And then I decided to come to America, of course. And so I didn't finish. But one thing I know, through at least the Bill of Rights in our Constitution, that everybody that has to face some sort of a charge for more than $20, we're supposed to go in front of a jury of our peers, correct? Tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Or if you've damaged somebody or denied them their constitutional rights. True.
Yeah. Yes.
But that's when we look at different issues with the U.S. Constitution, and we do exist in a federalism. Yeah. We'd have the federal government being delegated sovereign powers by the states.
Exactly.
And they're supposed to do very limited things. Coin money, declare wars, protect us from outside people that want to destroy our country or people that foment revolution in our country. Yeah. And then the states can do everything else. But it all has to start with what the citizens delegate to the states to do.
But my point
or
now,
again, by amendment, delegate to the federal government to do. And they're not doing it anymore.
But a misdemeanor now, you go in front of a judge, and the judge is going to say, no, we don't need a jury, I'm enough. And you're going to also have the chance to spend, being sarcastic here, to go to jail.
You got it. And if you've got an attorney, he's not going to get into any better deal for you. But again, when you look at the legal system now, I call it a works program for attorneys. You have the prosecutor, or even if it's a civil action against that you're suing a company or a business, they both have attorneys. One's going to win, usually it's the corporation, and both attorneys get paid. Yeah. They're not concerned about your rights. Yeah. They're not concerned about protecting you from evil corporations, because again, that's not their job. Their job is to support the government policies, not the law, not the Constitution, but the policy that says, we've got to again say the smart meters are going to help everybody. so you have to take them. Or you got to have your child vaccinated before you can go to public schools. And again, the manner of giving them are in such numbers that bodies cannot withstand that, and therefore it's going to hurt them, whether it be through autism or other diseases. So when we look into the legal system, everybody knows attorneys now. Before it was you had to go look one in a phone book. I know several, and not just from being from law school. I have members of my family that are lawyers.
Wow.
And again, you all know them, and then they tell you, well, number one, you don't know the law. Trust me. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to read an opinion, look at the statutes, which sometimes can be confusing, but you do have to rearrange to say, what is the intent of what this judge was saying here? Does it really apply to the corporation expanding its power, or does it really apply to the citizen? And when we look at certain cases, the parameters are, if there's a way to interpret a case or a statute, and one is to side with the corporation, and the other side is to side with the citizen, you have to side with the citizen.
And this is exactly connected also to the smart meter issue. The reason why I wanted to bring it up, because, people can say, okay, after all, I'm going to go through the judicial system and we're going to find some sort of a justice. Not really, if the only judge is not going to be people of your peers, but it's going to be like a judge that works for the corporation anyway. So we are kind of in a situation that we are in a box, okay? We are trapped. So we need to find out the way to bring this back to the people. Because at that point, with the people, we can say, wait a second, you're kidding me, right? You want to find this person or put him in jail because doesn't open the gate or doesn't want to comply with this new regulation? Are you kidding me, right? I mean, but if the judge doesn't care. The judge is just one person. We know he represents the corporation, or in this case, the state. So we got to find a way to bring it back to the people, like you were saying. John, you there? I'm reading your website. You're one of my, I don't like politicians, but I tell you, I like statesmen. And you are, according to what you write, according to the topics that you bring to your heart and to your your agenda. I wish you were my representative. But tell me something.
Thank you.
And, I don't need to agree on everything, but let's put it this way. When you got like 95% of what you're saying, we agree, we are really much great, okay? So, did you try to run for office in your area? You are a candidate, I know that. Tell me a little bit about your background, political background, when it came down to that.
Yes, I have ran for office several times. I've ran on the Libertarian ticket. Mm-hmm. I once upon a time tried the Republican ticket, but I found that if you're not the favorite son, then you get no time. Mm. And so I joined the Libertarian Party, and I've been with them ever since, because at least I have an opportunity, if for nothing else, to get in front of people and tell them what the truth is, and to question those that are running for office against me. So I have an opportunity. Yes, I do have a website, johnjtater.com, which is my political website. You can go there and look my history and my background, and there's even a little speech that I give over there. I did want to jump just the track a little bit here.
Yes, please.
Because we are talking about trying to bring our country back to some sort of republic that we were guaranteed by the Constitution, by the federal Constitution. What happened is that, Thomas Jefferson said the downfall of the republic will be led by the judiciary. And it is. Mm-hmm. And it is absolutely led by the judiciary. What happened in 1937 is that they passed the civil action jurisdiction. They passed an act, and they created the civil action jurisdiction in courts. So when you go to court now, you no longer can go under equity and law. You go in the civil action jurisdiction, which is a voluntary, especially if you hire an attorney, you automatically volunteer to be in the civil action. And in the civil action jurisdiction, the judge makes the decisions. When you go to court, as I have done already several times, mm-hmm. you don't want to be in the civil action jurisdiction. You want to go in no, that's not the right one. Juris proprio. There you go. Which is standing on your own right. So when you go in juris proprio and you stand on your own right and you say you do not want to be part of the civil action jurisdiction, but you live in the republic, and I quote, Norton versus Shelby County, which is a Supreme Court decision that says if you step outside the republic, Your Honor, then you will be held personally liable for your behavior. That is in the Supreme Court decision of Norton versus Shelby County.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens in a couple of cases, I walked in with my pleadings to keep me to get me into the republic and throw out the civil action jurisdiction, and 2 judges disqualified themselves. They didn't want to talk about my case.
Wow. You know, what you say is very important. You know, I want to be honest. Years ago, probably about 10 years ago more, somebody tried to give me this information. At the beginning, I say, oh, my God, what type of drugs do you use? I say, are you crazy? You know, we must have an open mind, because all this stuff is documented, okay? And let's not be arrogant. I always say ignorance can be fixed. We all were ignorance one time, and that's okay. You know, that's why we can help each other. That's our duty. But arrogance and stupidity, that's a very dangerous combination when you mix it with ignorance. And we're at this point in this country because we've been not just ignorance, but also we've been arrogance. And unfortunately, many of us, I'm not talking for many of my listeners, but unfortunately, this is the reality of America. Not only they are lazy to discover the truth, but also they're afraid, because then when you know what is really going on, you must have a choice. You must decide if you want to just be a good slave or start to stand up. And unfortunately, sometimes standing up can be a little hurtful. You know, I know you guys, I mean, Ron, you know, you spent some time in jail, as you told me. It was a federal prison, I guess, right?
Yes.
I've been studying, for example, the book by Irwin Schiff years ago, The Federal Mafia, and I invite everybody to read the book. And he's bringing, for example, many of these situations, these cases, you know, like Constitution. And he brings the Constitution, the Supreme Court cases. And the judge says, no, the Constitution is not admitted here. And no, this case, no. Bottom line, it's like almost an act of tyranny. No, almost, it is an act of tyranny. That is not even anymore black, hidden. It's black and white. When the judge says the Constitution...
My point is, not to interrupt you, but I got to get this in, is that this movement that John and I have been, again, not just spearheading, but educating people, is it's not about confrontation.
Yes.
You don't confront the police officer. You don't confront the judge. This is about education.
Yes.
And with pleadings stated properly, you are educating the court to say, as a citizen, I know where I stand as a citizen in the republics.
I agree.
And you, Your Honor, cannot come back and say the Constitution doesn't exist unless you want to admit on the record that the republic doesn't exist anymore because it's been revolutionized.
Yeah,
and that's stated in Norton versus Shelby County, too.
Yes.
So we've got them like between a rock and a hard place.
We expose them.
We belong in the republic.
Exactly. We must expose them. And education is the most powerful weapon, because after all, when we reach critical mass, and I really believe we are getting better, at least the last few years, there is an awakening. At that point, we can start to elect local elected politicians, county level, city level, state level, that we can start to talk the same language like you're talking here. I mean, I wish you to have somebody like you guys run even for sheriff or running for anything, mayor. I mean, that would be a revolution, a peaceful revolution happening in your community. That's why we got to educate our own people in our communities. In this way, we can start to recreate America at local level. That's why I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so glad that I was able to meet you and find you, because you've done an excellent job of research, not just on the smart meters, but there is so much more, from income tax to, of course, also different topics, like when it comes down to vaccination, something that I think is very important. Can you talk a little bit about this situation that now the government, for example, in California, think that they have the type of godly right or power, let's not call it right, to force your children to be vaccinated? What do you think should we do here?
Well, I think that again, that's a voluntary issue. If they told me that I had to vaccinate my son or my daughter, I would take them out of school. How many can they afford students to be pulled out of school before the school system says, wait a minute, we can't do this because we're losing enrollment, and therefore we're losing federal funding as well as state funding because our numbers are down. The problem is that the people are not willing to stand and say, you know what, if you're going to force my child to be vaccinated, I'm going to just pull them out of the school. We'll homeschool them and set up their own little community in their own neighborhood to homeschool 10, 15 children, and each parent take a little bit of time to do so. Now, I was a school teacher, so it's kind of hard for me to say homeschooling is a good thing, because I kind of think that the public school systems have a lot to offer. However, you're not going to force my son or my daughter to get vaccinated against my will, because you don't have the authority as a school system to do so. And I will do everything I can to stand and prevent that from happening.
Yeah. And on the other side of that coin, too, is that the drug companies have been given, quote-unquote, immunity based on whatever damage they do to your child through the vaccinations.
Yeah.
Can we delegate the authority to Congress to give them immunity as citizens? No, we can't. The president can pardon them if they've been convicted as the drug company saying that it's a direct cause and result of autism, but that's again after they've been charged, tried, convicted, and sentenced, then the president can pardon them. But they cannot be given immunity before the act actually happens or takes place. This is the republic upside down.
Exactly. And this is exactly the question. I have a lot of people that they understand what's going on. And then, of course, there are people that I don't know why. Maybe it must be a virus. I really believe that stupidity starts to spread out like a virus. This sort of worshipping. Everything comes from authority worship. And trust, blindly trust. I don't blindly trust anybody. Maybe my mother. That's it. Okay? But when it comes to government, I think it's our duty to question everything. And the question is this. How would you trust a corporation that has been given out immunity to give you a product that may have some side effects, and you have no recourse? I mean, that doesn't happen with anything. If you have a car, there are cars, lawsuit against cars. They try to have a lawsuit against rifles and guns. Of course, most of them, they're unconstitutional. But before, there is a recourse for every product. And you tell me now that you should be trusting blindly a product you put in your body, and the government gave complete immunity on that? Maybe there's something that doesn't add up there, guys. So that's the scary thing. I sometimes believe that we are almost under this spell of between chemicals and television and, of course, chemicals, that people are becoming stupid. I mean, I don't understand. And, another thing, if people believe in vaccines, guess what? If your child is vaccinated, your child should be safe, should be protected. So why you want me or other people that would not believe in these vaccines to have that vaccine, since you are protected? I mean, basic logic, but doesn't apply to that. Right. So anyway, this is important. Go ahead, guys. Go ahead, please. Sorry.
No public functionary has immunity. They've tried to make us believe that that's the case, but they do not have any form of immunity. And the thing is that if we don't know our rights and we don't stand on our rights, we don't have any rights, because we are allowing them to usurp those rights from us. So we as people need to understand, as Ron put it earlier, our part is of the republic and what we are supposed to be doing in the republic. That in the republic, we the people are in charge, and we hire public functionaries who are the maids and the butlers and the chefs to work for us. We're not working for them.
Exactly.
And certainly the corporations have no power, because they're under charter to be corporations. They have absolutely no power, none from the political system and none from the public system. So these are just people that are usurping authority and taking power that they think they have or that they want to have over us, and giving us the fear. As you turn on television nowadays, it's all fear.
Yes.
Everything they have one shooting after another, and most of them are false flag.
Yes.
Most of them never really happened. And so we need to be able to discern what's right and what's wrong, and not just blindly follow the so-called medias, which are now able to lie to us because of Obama taking off the propaganda statement now, that they can use propaganda against the American people.
Yeah, and another thing, guys, at the end of the day, for me, the way we can organize now, this is the hour of love, okay? And I say love means also standing with your neighbors. Let's say I have no children, okay? Or maybe you have children, I don't care. But let's say they are coming tomorrow and say, hey, the state demand that your child must be vaccinated. Let's see how this poor bastard is supposed to take the shot to my child, how he's going to feel when he's going to be surrounded by maybe 50, 60 neighbors, all standing up with a video camera on their face. And if you live like in states like Arizona, we don't wear guns just because we are waiting for a confrontation. We wear guns, period. Okay? Because it's part of our lifestyle. You know, I would be very nervous to bring a first shot in my child when I have all the citizens around me say, no, you cannot do that. And we don't need to have violence, but we need to have educated people that understand our rights, and we are not a bunch of cows to be put in the freaking, cart ready for the slaughterhouse. So the point is this one. Right now, same story with the smart meters. This is the moment to love ourselves and love our neighbors. Once we share this information that you guys have been putting together so nicely on this website, and I want you to say one more time the website, please, for the smart meter. Go ahead.
It's oneifbyland.org.
Okay, listeners, go there to the smart meters, document yourself. There is a lot of good information. Once you understand that you do on your research, this is real. Your health is at risk. Your life is at risk. Your children, even worse, they can get even more damaged about this. Your DNA may change forever, for God's sake. Guess what? It's time to talk maybe with your neighbors. Start to organize. And then when they show up at your door, instead of be by yourself, maybe a housewife alone, when the husband is out to work, guess what? You're going to have a meeting, and you're going to face all of us. That's the bottom line. In that way, we can start to really have a chance to stand it back before even we go to the legislature, because they're not going to... When we have a group of people understand what's going on and we stand together, we are almost invincible. I really believe that. Don't you think about that?
No, we are invincible, and you're making the point for me is that this will change.
Yes.
This is about citizens realizing what not only their rights and privileges are, but what their duties are to be a citizen existing in the republics.
Exactly.
We have to be self-controlling and self-regulating.
Yes.
And again, it's not that vaccines are all bad. It's the way they're giving them in such numbers to kids so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you're right. If your daughter doesn't have them and the neighbor's son does have them, he's protected. So what's the fear? That's what they play on. And the mass media lies to us. The government lies to us. But we have to, again, take our rights back and the knowledge. We were built on the republic. We were built on as a different nation, that the citizens would be in charge and delegate authority. As Ben Franklin walked out of Independence Hall and a woman asked him, what kind of form of government did you give us? He said, a republic, if you can keep it.
Yeah.
And the woman asked him, what kind of people are we going to vote for to put into these offices? And he said, there will probably be liars, beggars, and thieves, totally self-centered men, but we will bind their hands with the chains of the Constitution. So public functionaries can only do what we tell them and delegate authority to allow them to do for us. But now they say they can make it up on their own without our permission, and that's the republic in distress. So it all ties together with what you're saying. If we stand together as citizens, nonviolently, educated, knowing our rights and the law, we will be successful, and we will.
Yes, and don't forget the most powerful weapon we have right now. We are living in a digital era. Internet is still alive, thankfully, for now. Video camera. You know, whenever they come to your door, don't be shy. Point the camera on their face, or at least on them, okay? And videotape everything, because whatever they say is going to be on record. And you can inspire other people. Listen, guys, you've been an inspiration for me. I really appreciate you for what you're doing. And please, let's be in touch. And I want to say now, it's almost the end. I have a song. One of the things I do for a living, I write songs. And I have a song I will dedicate to you. And it's called Don't Tread on Us, okay? And I hope that one day we're going to meet. Even if we don't meet in this life, I tell you, I consider you brothers in freedom for this common cause that we have to take this republic back. Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much, Ron, okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, now we have Don't Tread on Us. This is the final part of today's show. I'm exhausted, and guess what? I really help in your support, listeners, because, you know, this show is not just supported by sponsors, it's supported by you. You can go to my website, ZannaArt, ZannaArt.com, and you can download any of my songs for just 99 cents. God's willing, I'll talk to you next Sunday.
Home now, and questions about whether the CIA could spy on people through their refrigerators. There's this report out from Wired Magazine's National Security blog that says the CIA Director David Petraeus recently spoke about smart technology in our homes. Technology that connects a television or oven to the internet.
We're not afraid. You work for us. We're not your slaves. Don't tread on us. You crossed the line. Soon you will pay for all your crimes. After a long train of abusive and insubmission, now we've lost our patience. Yeah, you're trying to kill our Constitution.